right, let's get it popping, producer. Welcome to Harley Initiated Live. We are live here with your host, Tyshawn Jackson. Some new seating popping off over here. You looking right next to my man's here, Ryan Catchings.
Yo, what's popping? Listen, this episode is about to be crazy. It's about to be crazy.
Yes, it's going to be a fun show, y'all. We really worked very hard to bring some amazing guests here so we can have an absolutely amazing conversation. All right? And the conversation is going to be fun. I want you guys to take a look at the people that we sitting here with. We are sitting here. Let's start over here with this handsome brother here. My dog over here rocking the designer. Y'all didn't even see what he pulled up in. I ain't gonna go too crazy, but we sitting here with that guy over here. This man, the crazy thing is this man actually designed our website. This man is designing the websites to the top people in the game himself. Some might even call him a high-value male.
He's crazy.
Millionaire entrepreneur and actor. We rocking the head with Jacoby. Welcome to Harley Initiated, my brother.
Appreciate you guys having me, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Listen, we appreciate you, man. You've been catching some steam online lately.
Yeah.
Catching some steam.
Some heat.
Y'all probably seen this brother. This was the star here on Put a Ring on It.
And you know the ladies love that show,
What
too.
season is that?
I'm not even sure what season, bro. I never watched it before, just being on it. I didn't even catch any of it.
Yeah, high value men don't watch TV, guys. He doesn't even know what season. He doesn't even know what season. He just shows up, cameras.
I just showed up. No research, no looking at the show. I just showed up.
Yeah.
They was on me to try to get on, bro. They reached out to me via DM, and they were consistent about getting me on the show, and I finally was like, all right, I'll do it.
Yo, listen, ladies and guys, if y'all watch Put a Ring on It, if you have any familiarity with that show, I want you to drop a yes right now. And if you've seen this guy, go ahead and put 2 exclamation points and a fire emoji behind that. If you actually seen him on Put a Ring on It.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. And now we're going to introduce this wonderful, beautiful couple here. Look at this black love right here next to me, all in my space, all in my vicinities right here. We are actually sitting here, man. I was blowing this young lady up because I wanted to get her on the show so damn bad. I am sitting here with a life coach, and I wrote this down because this is what you're doing. I made sure I write this down, y'all. So, ladies, y'all better peep game because this young lady here is helping women revive their lives after divorce in only 90 days. I saw that. I'm like, yo, magical. Yes, we had to have her on the set. We here rocking with Adriana. Welcome to Harley Initiated.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And then right there next to her, we got the brother, the big dog, the husband. Yeah, the husband sitting here right next to her. This brother here, oh my gosh, you know she doesn't settle, so we already know the caliber. Yeah, I don't know if y'all know what kind of sister this is, but it's no weak shit going on over here. We here rocking with this. He doesn't want to really talk about all the accomplishments, the accolades, and titles, but I know the lady's gonna want to know he's a full stack engineer. So, he's fully stacked. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, we're here rocking with Mike. Welcome to the show, my guy.
Thank you, Tyshawn. Hey, everybody. Appreciate being on the show.
And today, guys, we're going to be talking about dating women with children. Yes.
Absolutely. Listen, we got a very interesting title we put up. But now we don't know what's going to happen with this conversation. But y'all take the title out. Single mom proves high value man wrong. Her man put a ring on it.
Hey, Ryan already predicted what's gonna happen in the conversation, the tip of the scales.
I'm cheating.
But here's what we're gonna start with though. We're gonna have a good time. We're actually gonna start with an icebreaker. I actually did not want to start with this icebreaker at all.
He did not like this icebreaker at all. And this is the thing. I like to have some very interesting conversations. So before we actually get it started, because the guests, they haven't seen this yet. Now, this is the thing. I was having a personal conversation with a young lady that, I have some high level of interest in. And basically, I'm eating the watermelon. It's summertime. Watermelon is my favorite fruit. So I'm chowing on this watermelon. We on FaceTime. So I'm eating the watermelon. I'm laughing. I'm talking to her. And she just starts blushing. She just starts really blushing. Okay. And I'm like, yo, what's up? I'm like, what's up with you? She's like, I just put the watermelon down. Like I can't even look at you eat watermelon.
Oh wow.
And I'm like, yo, are you serious? Like you joking? It's just watermelon. She's like, no, it's different. I was like, so what is so special about me eating this watermelon? So then she goes to explain that even though, yes, if I was eating the watermelon in private, right? If I was eating it in private and it wasn't this chemistry between us, it would not be inappropriate, or not necessarily inappropriate, but making her feel a certain way.
Enticed.
Right? So then I'm like, well, you an artist, right? She's an artist. And I'm like, you go viral every now and then from posting your clips, but when you paint, you got your butt toward the camera.
Yeah.
So she's like, well, that's different.
Oh, wow.
That's different because I'm an artist. I actually have a skill. And I'm like, how is that different, right? So I said, you know what, this is what I'm gonna do. I said, would you be upset if I was to do something like that? And what if I started a page where I only would eat watermelon? How would you feel about that? She was like, absolutely not. So I said, this is what I'm gonna do. Because I wanna have a conversation about this. I'm actually gonna post a video of me eating watermelon.
Most disturbing shit y'all gonna see all day, y'all.
We're gonna see what people think. And I told her I would keep it authentic. I said I would not try to be sexy. I would literally eat this watermelon as if I'm having a conversation with you. So roll the video.
I have
roll
no
the
interest
Roll
in
the
watching this
video.
video.
See? Already.
Hold on, mute the mic.
This is the thing. That video has my phone blowing up. I only put it on my stories. So it's already got 450 views on it, right? But this is the thing about, 450 accounts reached. But it's actually been viewed about 800 times. So somebody is watching that video. Now, this is the thing. My text messages are going crazy in my phone. I'm getting responses from men. You can imagine. I'm sure y'all can imagine what they might be saying.
Yeah.
And I'm getting responses from women.
Cut that shit out.
Exactly. I'm getting responses from women. But this is why I want to talk about this, because I specifically want to discuss how sexual innuendos can impact the way people view you in the dating marketplace. Because I akin this to be no different than a woman eating a banana, a woman doing squats where the camera angle is pointing at her butt. So I just wanted to get you guys' general perspective first. So we'll start with Jacoby. Jacoby, as a man, when you see that video, what do you think?
Well, I didn't see that video, but I'll speak on the sexual innuendos that I see online. So I was having this conversation with a colleague of mine. We were talking about realtors in 2023, right? And how now the realtors are damn near more sexy or as sexy as a stripper, right?
Yes.
Their angles and everything about showing a home, the camera is all pointing at their ass. You don't even see the towel. You're just seeing the body. You're seeing the angles. And it's everything that they're promoting is me. Come and buy a home from me because I'm sexy versus let me teach you how to get the best interest rate.
No knowledge.
Let me teach you how to improve your credit, right? Whatever variables that it may be to get the home is more so buy a home for me just because I look good. I got on the tightest dress. I got on the best outfit. I'm smiling. I'm basically making love to you in a camera for you to come in and be a customer of mine. So I noticed that a lot, and that's like the new with the realtors. That's the angle that they're going. I don't know if it's because the market is down, and now I don't know if it's just them selling themselves a little bit long. I don't know what's going on.
But something going on.
But realtors now they're getting their body done faster than a girl working in the strip club. It's like, yo, I got to get my body done to sell homes.
Okay. So I got some questions for you, but I don't want to go too deep just yet.
Yeah.
Let me talk to my beautiful couple. We'll start with you first.
Well, I mean, so let me respond to you, Jacoby. So, well, we all know that sex sells, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we live in a very pervasive like society. So, I think as much as women basically, like as you were highlighting, like women basically, I don't know, wearing provocative things. It's the same as a man basically putting on a tight shirt. Maybe for you to see him, looking a certain way to, market towards women. At the end of the day. So I don't necessarily see that as a bad thing. I think for me, it's really more of like a tactic. I mean, just let's look at McDonald's. I mean, McDonald's essentially, they use specific tactics to get you to buy their products. So I think it's the intention that really matters. Now, as far as sexual innuendos, I mean, again, we live in a society that's very pervasive, so it's hard to address the effects of, how people basically present themselves sexually without thinking about the moral foundation on which we basically perpetrate sex. Like, sex is in everything, right? So how can we complain about women basically doing things or men basically doing things that are sexual when the actual foundation, you turn on a kid's show and there's a girl in a bikini, or you turn on a PG-13 show and they're French kissing. So I think that for me, I don't want to say hypocritical, but that's basically like my perspective. It's hypocritical.
So are you saying the watermelon video, no big deal?
I mean, for me, it's no big deal, but that's because I'm a man. Like, I don't find that sexually attractive in any way, shape, or form. And there's just no moral foundation for me to even consider that to be sexual. Now, if it was a woman,
Okay, well, not sexual. Let's say you don't consider it sexual. Do you think that changes the way you feel about my brand as a man?
why should it? I guess because. So let me give you a perfect
I think
example.
you're a creep.
Right?
Yeah, it would change. Yeah.
Because it's the intention and it's the perspective, right? So I come in with a completely different perspective, which is like in a completely different direction. When I saw that video, I actually thought that you were just being funny, right?
Wow.
Because that was my perspective, and my perspective is modeled by my environment and my exposure. Now, if I was a gigolo and all I see is two, people all the time, then perhaps I will have a biased perspective towards concluding something completely different. So your environment and your perspective affects how you perceive things. That's all it is for me.
Now, we gotta ask the
Let's
young
ask the
lady.
lady.
Yeah, we
Yeah, let's
have
ask
to
the
ask the young lady, and I want to know, because coming from your perspective, assuming you were in the dating market, how would you feel that makes me look? How am I representing myself, and would you find that attractive in the dating marketplace?
So I'll say this. When we were dating, there's a lot of things he would do on accident that was very sexy, that he wasn't trying to do.
Exactly.
So it really just depends on my personal interest with the person. However, I completely agree with the real estate. We talk about that all the time. They're not really selling real estate, they're selling themselves. And I don't think that's a bad thing.
I don't think it's a bad thing either.
But it is a tactic. If I would have saw that video, it's very similar to the men that do the eating the peach. Personally, I like my men subtle. So that would have just been a bit much for me. And I'd be like, I probably won't deal with you like that.
Right.
But if I'm already interested in you, then I'm already thinking about what you would be doing to me as I'm watching you do that. But that's because of my personal interest in you as a person. If I don't know you, it's not sexy to me.
Yeah.
And
So
so social media it does have an effect in how we actually vet and qualify like the personalities of the people we dating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know
100%.
you out here, you single, right?
I'm single,
Very
yeah.
important. So you single out here, a young lady approaches you, whatever the case is, very quick interaction. You go to the Instagram to see what she's about.
100%.
You start seeing, even if it's let's go to the personal trainer example,
Okay.
right? Let's say she got the very sexy, because y'all see these personal training outfits going crazy right now, right?
Yeah,
The
they
personal
sexy.
training outfits.
No,
I don't
it's-
even know what technology is going inside the ass.
It's not even personal
Like, I
trainers.
don't even know how that works.
It's all
Everyone's
athleisure.
knitting the back part,
The
the crack
knitting-
part.
Yeah.
They're making an ass just look like, it's like, what's going on
It's
there?
the craftsmanship
It's
is
intentional.
absolutely insane. But you see her doing squats right down into the camera every single. Does this shape how you see this young lady,
Does it shape how I see her?
or how you qualify her
How
as a
I
long
qualify-
time partner? Better question.
On how she's interacting on social.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, definitely, because I look at it as you're fishing. You're posting and you're looking for entertainment. And even speaking on how you mentioned things that for your husband have turned you on was things that he did on accident. And I think that's widely spread amongst women. They appreciate men who are sexy, not trying to be sexy. Like you eating a watermelon is like, you're damn near thirsty. You look thirsty like you're attempting. But when a woman does it, it's like, I appreciate her effort to be sexy. We don't really appreciate a man's effort to be sexy. So me seeing a woman
Very true.
online attempting to be sexy, it's a turn on, and it's like, all right, I like that she's going for sex appeal because I see us being out, and I know, as you mentioned, sex sales, and I'm a businessman. So I want a woman that's going to compliment me, that other men are going to look at me and say, yo, I see you, nephew, right? I see you, etc. Right? But at the same time, as far as being with her long term, depending on how she's dressing, how overly sexualized she is, it's night and day. You can still be classy and be sexy versus being a hoe, online, right?
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, I'm sorry. I agree with you on that. But my question is, how do you know that, in your case, Ryan, how do you know that Ryan's being thirsty versus just being himself?
So that's great question.
Because essentially, what I'm trying to say is there's a little bit of bias in there based on what you've experienced. And that shapes your perspective. That shapes how you perceive his actions, right? Because I, as somebody who may not have had your experiences, just might see that as a funny video, as just a meme that he's just trying to go viral for different intentions. I think that's what I'm trying to communicate here.
I understand
we're
that.
inserting our biased opinions to perceive things, right? Even if you see a woman shaking her ass, I'm not saying that for me that may not come off as pervasive or sexual. I'm saying there is a consensus, right, in society where we say, oh, that is sexual.
Yeah.
Because twerking came from Africa and we
right.
did not think that was sexual. That was just cultural. But it's now been completely perverted because of how we view things in the U.S.
First of all, these women shaking their ass can't name one African country.
Right.
Well, yeah.
It's nothing connected to consciousness.
But you see,
no. I see what you're
You
saying.
see how it crosses cultural lines and then it completely
Yes.
shapes because of the
I see.
experiences. So that's what I'm trying to point out here.
But that's very accurate, right? Because people are going to believe, like you said, based on how they perceive things.
Right.
But should men or women still be held accountable for the potential consequences that come from putting sexually suggestive
Yes,
content online?
yes.
Anybody should be held accountable for putting whatever things they put publicly because of how people are going to perceive them. You cannot control how people perceive things.
So is it fair if a man says, hey, I know you're just working out, but the camera is on your butt and it does look sexy. I'm not interested in dating you because of the way you present yourself online.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think it
I'm
is
not gonna
fair.
lie. I think it's fair. I personally, even with my friends, my friends are in different fields, so I do get it. I like wearing very sexy stuff. However, there's limits. You know what I'm saying? There's limits where with the camera angle, there's limits to how it's coming off. I've had a very intentional stage. We met on a dating site. My photos were intentional.
They were
very intentional.
I love your
I knew what I
photos.
was doing.
21 all
I know. I knew exactly what I was
So-
doing. And then when I wasn't in the
And
intentional
you know
stage,
who you're trying to attract.
exactly. I know.
Exactly.
We know. So
Yeah.
even if she's squatting and whatever the case may be, you can still be in fitness and you're going to be sexy regardless. You can't control your curves, but there's a way to be tasteful if you want to intentionally be tasteful.
But tasteful from what perspective? Because it's
From
very,
your
it's-
own perspective.
Exactly.
From your own
Because we
perspective.
could
yeah.
argue that a completely different group of people with completely
Yeah,
different
they will say
moral
what they have to
precepts
say, yeah.
will perceive that video and be like, oh, she's just trying to win a trophy or
she's just
something.
trying
But
to,
I
yeah.
think
she's just
even with
trying
Ryan
to-
asking the question, he knew that it wasn't the majority. It's not normalized for him to bring it up, and how she immediately shut it down.
Yeah.
And him even doing it as an experiment just brings power to the point that it's not normal for a man to attempt and try to be sexy. I just recently seen a girl that I follow on Close Friends was ridiculing a guy, talking major shit about him because every post that he makes, he has his shirt off. Right? You're not going to see a man posting commonly or widely spread to say, man, I hate this girl every time she posts, she has on a tight dress.
Right.
She's like, yo, why are you trying so hard? Women appreciate it more if you're not trying, because it's like, yo, I like that you're not doing all the extra things.
But he could have
Those
not
things
even
are-
been trying. He
Yeah.
could have just been talking and had his shirt off. That's
No.
It depends.
The entire reason I posted it was because things that are just regular things done in private, if a camera is in front of it, it can be potentially perceived as sexual.
Yes.
Now, we speak to a lot of women. One of the things that I always ask the women to take a look at is their social media profiles. Now, some of these social media profiles may have sexy working out videos. It may have videos with them visiting a class with nothing but females, a private class on a stripper's class. But it's a stripper's class that you now put a camera in front of and are posting. And I tell them, hey, I understand that you're looking for long-term commitment, but more than likely, a good man is not going to like to see you portrayed in this way, and it may be the case where he approaches you aggressively, sexually, or just with zero intent or long-term
Even, and watch
interest.
this. Even if he would like that skill set in private, like even if he would appreciate if you knew how to do those things, I think when you're online, it's your responsibility to understand the relative understanding or the perception of the culture that you're in.
Exactly.
It's your responsibility to understand that when you perceive yourself, because those are just the consequences that come with it.
Thank you, sir. And I really want to dive into so many things you said in that, but let me just go through one by one. You're absolutely right. Have you guys seen gym influencer videos? Do you know how many gym influencers that are men that literally go on camera and do the little, I'm not going to do it because, that's reserved for my wife, but they do the little like worm thing or like they're gyrating. There's so many videos. Let me ask you a question. Who is watching those videos?
But in comparison to women, like what would you rank it like?
There's a demographic, there's an age group and demographic, a social profile of people who don't give a shit about whether it's a woman or a man. They're eating up those videos, and a lot of them are women and men.
I think we're just trying to almost equalize what women are doing because
it's not equal.
It's not.
We're trying to get as close as possible.
I really believe the only excuse a man has, if we even get close to it, and it's still a slippery slope when it comes to being attractive online, that can be comparative, is posting the nice things or the successes and the accolades he may have achieved.
100%. That's the equivalent.
That is the only thing that I can give a man that can that can even get slutty. Going too crazy, posting your successes and accolades because it could be perceived as leading with money. It could be perceived as being arrogant. It can be perceived that this guy is just worldly and has no true substance.
True.
So it's still, but that is attractive. That is attractive to
it's
women.
Status, like
but that's a better way to attract women than trying to actually
show your nipples,
show the V cut in your goddamn waistline.
So I guess if we are talking about endeavors towards getting a woman, then yes. But there's another completely different area we're missing. Some people just do this for the money. Because, again, sex sells.
100%.
So the thing about it is, like, why let me ask you a question, right? So the woman who was doing the gym squats, right? We're talking about her holding herself accountable, but what about all the 600 to 13 million men that are watching her videos, right? And I'm not here to say, well, those men should not close their eyes and not do that. But the thing about it is, you put content out, people watch. That basically incentivizes you to put more content out like that. Guess what, guys? That's how Hollywood works.
They're going to keep doing it.
Exactly. You think that people are just going to... You think people are putting the same content, like PG-13 scenes with like little kids fucking to... just because they feel like it? No, they're putting that stuff out there because we are continually consuming it. That's my point. My point is, the thing about it is, a lot of people are not necessarily just looking at things because, one, their moral aptitude
I was just about to say that,
and outlook compels them
No.
to either do it or not. It's motivated by so many different things. It's motivated by impulses. It's motivated by money. It's motivated by influence.
Number one is the money.
So that's why I asked, how do you know his intentions? Because the thing about it is, I, as a person, saw his intentions from a completely different perspective based on how I grew up. And by the way, I grew up overseas. So as soon as I came from a completely different cultural environment, I perceived things differently.
So when you see him eating watermelon, what's the first thought that comes to you?
I thought it was hilarious. I was like, I would never do that, but keep on, brother. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Everybody has a different perception and about my intent. And think all of them were wrong. Because this is literally something that's planned for an episode.
It's your job. It's your job to convey that, because to convey that in the video if you choose to, or you leave it open and just reap whatever the rewards you get from it.
Or
did you get any DMs from it? That's the question. Did you get any DMs from that?
Okay, so this is the thing. So I got locked. So that was one of the biggest things. The men, take that shit down. That's homosexual.
Because of their
you look soft,
culture.
you look weak, you embarrassing the frat, that kind of thing. The women, eggplant emojis, watermelon. I wish I was the watermelon. Women literally sending me, women I had past sexual relations with, literally sending me current videos of how their body looks now. Like, so two completely different, that might have been too much information. But I just wanted to give you that those two, the men and women.
Probably in the chat, actually.
Yeah, right. Men and women literally perceive that totally different.
And
So
if you want to dig deeper, you would really go into the different profiles, like what kind of men, what age,
Yeah.
what demographic, what social status, what experiences, where do they live, because all those things affect the
Yeah.
perception and how you perceive that information.
First of all, honestly, I was like, Ryan, I don't even want to talk about this shit. Like, I don't even know why we're about to show this, but I actually get some perspective on how this is actually very relevant. And what y'all do have to realize, whether y'all want to acknowledge it or not, that you just got to be cognizant of how you present yourself on social media,
Yeah, you do.
especially if you're single and
you're
expecting
looking.
somebody to wife your ass up. Like this young lady right here, which is what we're about to start talking about right now. That was the icebreaker.
Yo, it's
that's
official.
icebreaker?
The ice
You just
is
getting warmed
broke.
up. Want to get y'all a little loose.
The ice
but it's
is
official.
broke.
We
hit the
got
400?
over 120 people live right now in the chat, and we're right at that
Welcome,
25-minute mark, which is excellent. So this is good because I'm almost 100% certain that we're gonna reach over 400 tonight on this live stream.
Let's
so
go.
make sure y'all share this right now. Now,
Share
if you
it.
just tuning in, we about to have a crazy conversation about single parenthood, about dating while single, about high value men in the selection process, about how to maintain relationships, all kind of juicy stuff. So if you want to ask questions and you want us to pin your comments and you want to address our guests, please, I'm going to drop the link below. YouTube membership, become a member, support the channel because y'all know we provide you value.
Y'all know it. Y'all know it. And Ryan already kind of gave y'all an introduction to what we're gonna be speaking on here today, which is why we have my man here, Jacoby, single, successful entrepreneur, here to my right, and we have Adriana and Mike here, a very happily, successfully married couple, and we're gonna get into the details of that. But before we do this, I want to give you guys a clip. This man here is famous as hell. He was all over my timeline, probably all over your timeline. He was on a show, put a ring on it. It was a finale going on. He pissed the ladies on the show off.
Oh, you
and
did?
I want to show why he pissed them off right here.
Y'all better follow him after
can
this.
we please
Oh,
go
man.
ahead and get that video played, my brother? Mute the mics and let's go ahead and get the video played. Let's get it.
Yes.
You didn't ask for another date with him. What was the turnoff?
Specifically, the turnoff was when I asked that
Finna make
question
up something right now.
about would you date a single mother? And Jacoby, you proceeded to tell me that basically you're a high value man and you are too good for a single mother. However, you did also tell me that you were raised by a single mother, which is profound for me to think that a single mother's not good enough for you, but it's good enough for a woman to raise you. That's unfair. And it's very insensitive to women out there who have children.
All right, so just because it's a cycle, I wanted to continue.
It doesn't have to
So
continue.
what I'm saying is that
It's more about why would you cut off and say that single women are not on the same level?
what you're supposed to learn from is history. So
Really?
you're a very
What's that got to,
intelligent
what's
woman.
that got to do
You're a
with
very
it?
intelligent woman. You're a very intelligent woman, right?
Yes.
So if you know as a woman growing up, you know it's the less likelihood for you to be successful by having a child. So what you do, you be more proactive. Using condoms.
What's that got to do
You
with
making sure
your
that you
choice?
okay. If you're getting pregnant, then all right, cool. Maybe I shouldn't continue having this child because I'm not getting married. A better chance of me having a successful life
You're
Jacoby,
speaking
by
of
finding a
me.
man. That's what I'm
Excuse me.
thinking.
So you were raised by a single mother.
Yes, and
Is your
I
mother still
struggled.
alive?
I struggle. My mom's still
Did
alive.
she struggle or did you struggle?
Both of us struggle.
Okay, so
The mics.
That was a lot.
Let's
Yo,
get it
listen,
poppin'
it's about
right
to get
here.
spicy up in here. I ain't gonna lie.
So check
Don't
it
come
out.
for me, ladies. Don't come for me. I don't want no smoke.
So check it out, y'all. Just for some context for some people that may not have heard it, for people that had some trouble, Jacoby pretty much, what he was accused of saying was that he was too high value to date a single mother is what the lady accused him of. And pretty much it sounds like in general, Jacoby, that's not what you want to do as far as dating a single mother. Now, I want to, obviously, that was only a 60-second clip, so I want to give some very brief context to that. All right, so I want to pop it off. First off, just give me that, true or false? I mean, like, are you open or not open? Are you not open to dating a single mother?
Dating and getting married is, of course, two different things. So what I was explaining to in a previous episode before the reunion was my preference. I would prefer to date, make my own household, and I have a household already made, and coming in to a situation that I'm not the focus. potentially having to deal with a baby father or someone having access to you, not having the initial respect in the household if we were to grow long term, and then potentially, from my experience, I've lost a relationship with a child before that really hurt me for some years after, right? Well, I built with a woman, helped her with a lot of things, helped her child for a couple of years, and then we broke up. And after that, I was like, you know what? I don't ever want to experience losing a woman and a child again. So I told her from my experience.
So you had a relationship with that child, you developed one.
Yeah. And then, we broke up, and I don't have any say so. There's nothing I can do. All the things that I bought the child, it's just like, it is what it is. You just can't see me, can't see my son. And I was just like, yo, you know what? I don't want to go through this again. And I've had like 5 serious relationships, and most of them, 4 of the 5 had children. So from that experience, I'm not talking from just making up stuff. I'm like, from that experience, I said, moving forward, I prefer not to date a woman with children. Not saying that I won't date a woman with children, just not my preference.
But you won't marry her. You'll date her, but you're not gonna marry her regardless, though.
Ideally, I don't want to marry a woman with children. I would rather basically make my own household, make my own legacy, my own lineage, have some say so in the household, and have that DNA walking around my home. And but that's just, again, ideally, but that's not to say that it won't happen.
So additional profile here, because Adriana here, I'm gonna give a quick backstory on yourself. You actually had, was it 3 children before you were married and married?
No, sir, don't do that.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was like, go ahead.
This is my second marriage.
Okay.
So I was divorced. I have 3 kids. I was a teen mom at 17.
Okay.
I got pregnant on my first time. And I took that time to, self-reflect and figure out like how to stabilize my life with being a mom. So I bought my house at 21, became an author, started a business, got my life on track, got married, had 2 more kids, and the marriage failed. So now I'm a single mom with 3 kids. And then, at the time, I was a single mom with 3 kids. Then I ended up meeting my current husband. So please get that together.
So now we have the proper context, and this is why this is so important.
Shout out to you, brother.
This is why this is so important here, because obviously this is a young lady who was at some point now in a very similar position where you were looking for suitors, you had children, and not only were you looking, you were able to find
the best. Yes.
Look at that. Look at that. She was able to find a brother they were still able to get together, get married, and now they are building a relationship. So I wanted to ask you, is it unreasonable, just in your opinion, is it unreasonable for a man to not want to date single mothers, especially being that he was raised by a single mother?
No, I don't think it's unreasonable for anybody to want what they want. I think that there are reasons for people to want what they want. And he honestly explained very well why he does not want what everybody wants for him. And people who probably had an issue with that were probably single moms. And I get it, because I was a single mom, but I don't go where I'm not wanted. I don't go where I'm not appreciated. Now, don't get me wrong. My husband also has kids, so it made sense for that. But 90% of the men that I dated after my divorce did not have kids. They could care less that I had kids because of the woman that I am. And a lot of men told me the issue with single moms that they had wasn't the fact that they had kids. It was kind of like what you said. They had no say-so. They were limited on how much they were really able to do for their child. It was kind of conditional. So it made it very difficult for them to be able to thrive in that position with them. Not because they have kids, but because of maybe the control that came over that. I do understand why someone would feel hurt by hearing that someone wouldn't date you, but you have to just simply go where you're wanted.
Then it's different types of single mothers too. So like you just mentioned some things of some, even though the accolades are great, right? And I'm not saying that's what makes you an amazing woman, but I'm not talking about the women that are still wifey material, right? I'm talking about the hoes.
You clearly was talking about different type of. You was talking about somebody specific when you were talking in that clip.
In that clip with her, it was more so me disappointed in their whole dynamic and their situation, because she was explaining to me some of the things that he's done for her as a partner, right, as a fiance, He's providing for her. He's a well-off man. He's a high earner. He loves her. He's taking her across the world. He's taking care of her 13-year-old son, and she wanted to pursue other men because he hadn't proposed. So a lot of my anguish and my voicing of my opinion was so strong was me more so like, stand your simp ass up, like bro, you got a woman that's actively seeking other men when you're doing all of these things for this woman. I felt sorry for him in a sense, where I wanted to come in and just like, you know what, this isn't fair. Like men, we get a lot of times we're not able to be as vocal and say our opinion and being as opinionated because we get counseled or we get ostracized and we're never able to really say what we want to say. We got to keep this in a barbershop.
Yep.
So I knew it was not the best platform on Oprah's network.
Not on Oprah's network, no.
But I said, fuck it. I'm gonna go in, right? I had 2 shots in me before, so you know.
He got 3 today.
I got
So
3
it's about to
today.
go
But
crazy.
listen, but no, for real, it's different types of single mothers. Like my mom was a single mother, and that's why I have the utmost respect for a single mother to see, like, damn, life is hard.
Yes,
like
it is.
life is hard, and for her to do that, and again, let's not leave the ain't shit men out of here because there's a lot of these men fault why we have so many single mothers.
For every single mother, there's a single father.
There's a single
Exactly.
father. Y'all Negroes need to just, get some better responsibility. Think better. Like we have this culture of shooting up the club, or it's just like the cool thing to do, right? Like, yo, bro, be responsible. Right. So I was more so talking in men and women. Like, yo, both of us need to be more aware and be more responsible when it comes to bringing a child in this world, because we're more likely to have an unsuccessful life with a single parent, especially a single mother. Mother's gonna be most likely to want to stand up and take care of the child. We're gonna be out doing what we're doing. So it's just like, yo, if you know some of these things, like, be proactive. And then that was pretty much my thoughts.
Now, Adriana, you mentioned that you had the 3 kids and were dating single men.
Yes.
So, you know better than anybody here, 3 kids, that's a handful.
It's a lot.
It's a
I
lot.
ain't gonna lie. It's a lot.
Do you think that do you think that a single man should date a woman with kids, being that it is more of a responsibility if he decides to pursue a long-term relationship?
It depends on what he values. So a lot of the men that I came across that were single, I actually did not date them. And I told them that my deal breaker was you had to have kids, because you have to understand the sacrifices that I'm going to make. You have to be able to understand, like, basically the dynamic. Not that you are going to forever come second, or in my case, 4th, because I got 3 kids. But I need you to be in a position to just understand parenting. A lot of those men were like, look, I value family. You have mild-mannered kids. I could tell the type of woman that you are. So I want to be a part of that because of whatever. But my thing was always, you deserve a legacy. Your first child will be my 4th, and I just cannot do that. I've been there, done that. So they might truly value what you value. They might value the family dynamic. They might just truly love the type of woman that you are. So I don't think it's wrong of him to want to, but it does come with responsibilities and a type of mentality you have to have. It's very difficult, in my opinion, for me to date a man that did not have kids, because simply the mentality, like, even with frustrations that I might have, you may not understand why I'm tripping so hard right now. And I never have to worry about that with my husband, because we have a total of 5 kids. So we have 3 boys and 2 girls. Yeah. And he has had his frustrations with my kids. I've had my frustrations with his. We've had them together, and we are able to understand, like, kids are just annoying. Like, kids are a lot. Sometimes I need to tap out. Like, and someone who doesn't have kids may be like, well, how can you say that? That is that's your child. That's your, and it's like not having to explain to somebody why I'm leaving for 5 hours, why I just need a weekend. It's difficult to get someone to understand that, or, just any dynamic of being a parent. There's some things that even as a mom, I'm not allowed to say because, you're the nurturer, you're the one that gave life. But kids are fucking frustrating. They're a lot. Yeah, so it's trying to be able to be in alignment with somebody who gets it. makes it a lot easier than someone who truly just they don't know where you're coming from.
So-
Now that makes sense. Are you advising that women with children look for men with children? Would that be? I guess that's like the Brady Bunch strategy. Would you say that's the best way to go about it?
It's not about it being best, but it might be easier. Because again, I've come across men who grew up with stepdads, who understand the whole mentality and have respect for a man stepping in for him, or who might be a mentor to other kids. So he gets it. So it really just depends on how his mentality is and what he's been accustomed to. If he hasn't been accustomed to that and he's never been dealing with kids, he doesn't have any outlook of that dynamic, she's going to be frustrated. But
Yeah.
if he does, and I've met men that do, I mean, get a ring, you know, get your ring.
I really want to get Mike's perspective on this here because, as you know, obviously she had her standards and she was able to go about seeing that you did have how many kids did you have, by the way?
2 kids, 2 boys.
So you also had 2 boys at the time. So as a brother who had 2 boys, you were also in the obviously y'all met on it. Which app was it, by the way?
Match.
Wow. Okay.
What-
I've never heard that
That's
one.
the story. Was it really?
That is.
Was it really Tinder?
Right.
Oh God, no.
Was it really Tinder? They said we gonna switch it and say Matt.
No, that's
it sound
interesting
sweet.
too, because we need to talk about that as well.
We will be talking about that soon. And you guys met on Match, and obviously you were intentionally dating. So what was some of was also finding a woman with a child something that was very important to you, or was that something that you were more or less attracted to?
I would say I was definitely very intentional about finding a woman who had children. I wanted to marry somebody who had children. I also wanted to marry somebody who was divorced. I did not want to marry a single mother specifically who had not been married.
Wow.
My reasons were this. For me, there's something about marriage where if you're dating somebody who has been divorced, they're already within that mindset. They're already within those notions. For me, they're already acclimated to those experiences. I did not want to have to start explaining it to somebody that look, you know, like there's certain
this is
things.
it.
That was my preference, right? Now add kids to the mix, right? I've experienced marriage, right? I need somebody who had like ridden the bicycle before, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Just that was my preference. Not saying that there aren't open-minded, down-to-earth, emotionally intelligent people who are single who have never been married. There are tons of them out there. Now, I did not want young kids.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to change no diapers.
Yeah, I had
Like, because I had already
2
been
young
there,
kids.
done that. So I compromised on my position because of the amazing woman that I met. So I was like, okay, I kind of like went through my value system. And I was like, oh, what do I value? I really value legacy, as Jacoby said. I value having children. I really love this woman, and what comes with her are these young kids. I would have preferred kids that were my age.
Yeah, I only had one that was my stepson's age.
Sorry,
and
not my
2
age, but my kids' age.
Yeah, I have 2 that were younger.
So-
I think they were like 2 and no, they were like 1 and 3.
Yeah, 1 and 3.
Yeah, and
So-
then I had an 8-year-old.
Right, but I said, well, no, you know what? I love this woman so much. I'm gonna do this whole rodeo again. And for me, it was the best decision I ever made. Growing pains, right? But I want to emphasize that my values were shaped by what, one, I grew up seeing, because at first I did not even want to be like divorced. I didn't believe in divorce. And 2, I wanted somebody who already was acclimated with taking care of children and being in a marriage. And I believe that, so I have this notion where like the best companies to invest in are the companies who have failed and are still here, right? Like if you look at all the companies that have been hacked, they know what to do. They've gone through the audits, the depositions in Congress. They know that, and they've survived that. They've survived the Chapter 11s. So if they're still alive, you can bet your ASS that they're going to literally do everything in their power not to go through that again. So I use that mentality to say, listen, if I see somebody who's going through divorce and they're still intentional about finding a person, most likely for me, using a methodical and analytical approach, they're going to be in a better position for me to work in a marriage based on our values, standards, boundaries, and alignments. So that was how I looked at it, and that's the reason why I'm with this woman.
Ladies, that's the most encouraging shit I have ever heard. Ladies, listen, you could have went through a divorce, you could have had kids, and there's a guy specifically looking for you. Where the narrative, Where the narrative the narrative is it's the exact opposite. There's nobody wanting women in that situation. And the funny thing is, you actually said you even compromised, being that because you did have some preset qualifications. Even though you wanted kids, it was a certain kind of kids.
I did.
But you saw past. I'm gonna be honest. Me personally, if I have a pre-qualification in my mindset, I can't. It's like you become invisible when I find out.
No compromise.
You know what to say no to.
It's very hard to compromise.
He's like that too.
On my qualification standards of like what I'm looking for, fundamentally for a woman to bring to the relationship. Obviously, I think there are some that are more lighthearted, that some preferences that you like to have. And then there's the standards that you like to have. I think those are different.
Yes, they are.
And I'm thinking I was more on the preference side with the kids. It was preferential because but listen, ladies, that's pretty incredible. You just put a poll up, Ryan.
Yeah, so
how was
listen,
that one
so
going?
guys, we are at 170 plus in the live right now, which is great. We on pace to hit 400, guys. So I want y'all to share this link as soon as possible. But look, I just dropped a poll. This poll is: do you personally think single men with no kids have any business dating single women with kids? And I didn't even put no in-between answers on this one. It's just yes or no. Where do you stand?
I like them. I like those.
Yes
I like
or no?
those.
Yes or no
Make 'em
only.
choose.
So guys, we got 28 votes dropped, but this thing, we got 175 people in the room. So let's get at least 50 votes on this poll, because I have to know, was Jacoby tripping or what?
Yo,
Go ahead. I'll say this. I hear what you're saying as far as you wanted a woman that was divorced, and I don't have that experience or that full understanding because I've never been married. But just to hear it, it kind of made me really think about. I would also prefer somebody who's divorced.
That's
if I
a
was
cap.
No. Seriously. If I was to date a woman, if I was to date a woman with children, I would prefer her have been in a marriage before, because then I understand some man decided to give a ring to her. She had qualities of a wife. He decided to have a legacy with her, a family, and she had those attributes that said, I want to be with you forever. And for whatever reason, the relationship didn't work out. Maybe you could be widowed. In my 20s, I was more adamant about not compromising, but I'm 30 plus now, right? So now being 30, I'm like, all right, it's a pretty common chance that I may meet a woman with a child. She probably got married. She probably had a divorce, or whatever happened. He could be locked up or whatever it may be. But if I was to date a woman with children, I would prefer to date a woman who was already like in a long-term relationship or like somebody already proposed, because just let me know, hey, she has attributes of a wife.
Right, I completely agree. And let me just add this point too. My wife gives me, I would say, full autonomy to raise her children and influence them in the way that I feel they should be raised to be upstanding citizens. So that comes with discipline too. Like she'll let you know I'm a disciplinarian in the sense
Man
that
is Nigerian American.
Now when I say disciplinarian, we tend to hinge on words. I don't spank my kids.
You don't need to, babe. Your
I don't
words
need
is
to.
something serious.
I hold them accountable, and I explain to them the consequences of their actions. So that was a requirement for me. If she did not do that, we would not be married. At the same token, I extended that same privilege in fact, I call it a right for her to have complete, I would say, moral tutelage, I can't think of a word, of my kids as well. In other words, my kids see her as mom while they're here, because my kids actually live in Baltimore with their ex, with my ex. And my kids see her as mom, and they respect her as I expect them to. So again, those were fundamental elements of what I value. And I brought them to her and I said, hey, do you believe in this? And she said, absolutely. This is exactly what I believe in. So why am I saying all this? Because at the end of the day, it really boils down to what you value. At the end of the day, it boils down to what you want from the relationship and then what you're willing to compromise and negotiate with the other person.
That's
That makes sense.
that's a really great point.
Yeah.
I want to actually bring this to Jacoby because one thing I really kind of didn't like, Jacoby, and be honest with you, is that you kind of left. You said, no, I won't do it, but maybe somehow if like, all these
miracle
things happen, if a miracle happened, I might consider it maybe. So you kind of leave this like crazy door open. So here's the thing. Is that how you communicate? So when dating, because I think when it comes to dating a woman with children especially, I think it's a high level of responsibility.
Yep.
100%.
It is.
I think it's like some things that you almost gotta be ready to get in the game and really play football.
Yeah, you
Like,
gotta be intentional.
You gotta be very,
Yeah.
it's serious
gotta be
business
intentional.
when you're doing that. So if you were to meet a woman with children, do you communicate up front that this is something that I'm not attracted to, or that this is something that I'm typically not going for, and I'm trying to see if I'm gonna make it work? Or do you just kind of, go ghost on her when you realize that
She has a kid.
she has those kids and those qualities a little bit down the line, in the relationship? How do you typically go about that? Since you have that open door, it sounds like y'all date. How do you go about dating those women?
It's a great question, bro. So to ask that, it's making me really reflect on my past, my dating experience that I've had, and recently every woman that I've dated hasn't had a kid, and I don't know if it's just me knowing that in the back of my mind that I prefer not to date a woman with a child. I just naturally am becoming more attracted as I'm courting these different women and I'm vetting and I'm narrowing it down to who I want to actually take out and spend my money on. I guess the women with the children are just getting disqualified in my chart, right? And it's just happening naturally. And if it was to continue and we're dating and then I find out that she has a kid, I think depending on the age, I would bring up if I have a problem or not.
The age of the kid?
The age of the kid.
Well, give me some more context behind that. So what's a preferential age?
All right, so I would say dating, again, is different from dating and marriage. So dating, I really don't care. Like, from long as you can get out and he or she can take care of themselves, and there's no problem with me actually spending the time with you, and there's no restraints on I can't get out because I have a babysitter or pay for my babysitter. Not doing any of that. If you can move around like an adult, a functioning adult easily, then I'm cool with that. Now, marriage, we're talking about getting into a household together. I don't know. I probably couldn't do it because I'm just thinking about how I was as a single child, right? A child with a single mother. How I treated the men that were coming in. I was ready to box and fight and talking shit every chance I got. So I'm just reflecting back on that, on how disrespectful I was, right? So I don't even want to think about even trying to experience that realistically when I think about marriage. But yeah.
Let me ask you a personal question. Would you say that your experience with your perception of single women and dating single women is motivated by your experiences, and in other words, it's rooted in fear? Would you say that?
Rooted in fear, elaborate.
Fear in terms of like what you've experienced and maybe growing up and look, I'm trying to be respectful.
No,
okay. So let me know if I'm overstepping.
Go ahead.
But fear in the sense of like what you experienced and then hoping that you will not experience that meeting somebody, like being conscious and afraid of being in that same situation or experiencing that same situation, or even more so, bringing a child into the world to experience that same situation.
No, it's not fear. It's a different F word, freedom. So I just want to have a freedom with whatever woman I'm with, and just being able to maneuver, whether it's traveling, getting up, I need you to pick me up, or I need to come pick you up, or let's do something and let's go somewhere this weekend. Let's do something now. That's the type of freedom I want my woman to have. I don't want it to be anything of let me stop and get a baby. I would probably instantly get turned off if you said, let me try to get a babysitter. It's just like, I don't know.
Like
it just
your
doesn't feel
preference,
good in my
basically.
soul. It just doesn't feel
So
good in my soul.
funny story. I actually dated a woman with kids. I actually told this story on another show. First of all, I could only see her every other week because she had 1 week on, 1 week off with the kids. That was like the arrangement that she had. So it was like, okay, cool. I kind of wait till it's like Single Girls Week.
Yeah.
And we'll go hang out. We'll have a good time, whatever the case is. But there was one particular time in general that it did scar me a little bit. I'm literally out at the park with this young lady. Phone rings. She picks up the phone, and she's handling business. It sounds like with the kids. She's like, "Oh yeah. Yeah, it's in his bag. It's doing this, and they're talking about the kids." And she's on the phone with the baby father, by the way. All of a sudden, I hear her say, "Don't worry about who I'm with."
Exactly.
Not gonna be able to do it.
That's
And
that's
then
something.
literally, I'm on my phone. I'm literally on my phone. I be like, and then she like, no, I'm gonna call you back. I'm gonna
Oh,
call
my
you back.
goodness, yeah.
And in my mind, I'm like,
Yeah, it wasn't over yet.
Let me ask you, Ty, do you have any women in your phone that you feel like right now, no matter who they with, what they got going on, you can call them and hit right now?
yeah.
And that's how I feel about the baby father. I have that in my mind, in the back of the head. Now, there's going to be some women that's going to crucify me and talk shit right now. Oh, there's no way possible. But it's access. You know, it's something that's connected to you forever.
Yeah.
Right? And if I feel that way, if anybody should feel that way, it should be the baby father. I know grown adults is like not something that's for everybody, but realistically, just being the point that it's possible in the back of my head, I'm just terrified of it. Like, because I know it's women that are in relationships right now that I could call and they're in bliss on Instagram that I can call right now or DM right now, like, I want to see you this weekend. And it's up.
So I want to make sure. So this is the thing. I'm gonna go ahead and end this poll real quick, guys. Look, we got 65, so better than we expected. 65 votes on the poll, and it's kind of crazy because it's really split right down the middle. 53% of people said yes. That's cool. Single men should date single moms, but 46% of people actually said no.
Wow.
So yeah, right
that's
down
close.
the middle. Yeah. So this is the thing, single moms, we promote healthy relationships. So we want these single moms to be able to find success. So real quick, Jacoby's giving his personal perspective, but I also want y'all to get a nice dating profile of Jacoby. So Jacoby, how tall are you?
6'4".
6'4". What was the introduction? You said millionaire, business owner, entrepreneur,
He pulled up in a Maybach, you know what I'm saying? It was like
actor.
two-tone joint.
He's not only going viral, but he's on a nationally syndicated television network, network. So this is a guy which most people would consider high value. Now, we don't know his character. No, I'm joking.
That's just you saying on the show, like the character now, man. I don't even consider myself, like, I know this whole high value thing is going around. I'm just like trying to be a better person every day, brick by brick, personal development. That's all I'm focused on.
But still, I would definitely say that you are most certainly an eligible bachelor.
Yeah.
So as an eligible bachelor, that women are likely seeking
Hold
after.
on. Why would you consider him an eligible bachelor, but you eliminated his character?
I was joking about the
He's
character
joking, he's
piece.
joking.
So, but do they know his character to really decipher if he's considered an eligible bachelor? Because you just listed all the things that will make a woman sound like a gold digger.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
So
That's a really good
Well, I mean,
point.
I don't want to go.
I know you don't. I can tell.
I think the reality of it is like those he named height, right?
Yeah, I'm not talking about that.
They see how he looks, and
Right.
they named the six. It's more about the successes he's achieved, because I think the successes that a man achieved says a lot about what his work ethic, his levels of ambition that are very important to women, and the successes and everything they had is literally just fruits of it. Now, here's the thing: I will say that if women are solely attracted to the fact that the man is driving a Maybach,
Yeah.
that is gonna attract some very secular women.
You said millionaire and Maybach.
I did.
Let's
That did.
not
I think-
forget
yes.
that.
Well, and I
That
say
just means work ethic and ambition.
No, that's what it should mean.
Yeah.
But no, that's why they're going crazy about this whole high value thing.
Exactly.
We say this jokingly, but there is definitely a difference between high value, high earning. What's the other one, babe?
High virtued
And high appealing.
and high appealing.
okay, so now look, you
Three
just pulled that out.
archetypes.
I want you to break down each of those so the audience can get a good idea of what
I
the
want to
difference
hear
between
that.
those
I want to
are.
hear that.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, babe. Yeah, I'm
you're
gonna
giving it
let
to
you
me?
run it. Yeah,
okay,
run that.
so essentially, those are three archetypes that constitute what we call high value. And by the way, high value just means good.
Good man.
And
That's
good is
it.
relative.
That's all. That's all it means.
We just came up with a viral way to
Right.
basically say, "Oh, you a good man." We've been saying this for millennia,
Yes.
right? High earning is someone making a lot of money. High appealing is someone that looks good. And remember, this is all relative. So
Relative.
to you, right? And high virtuous is someone that we would consider within our cultural confined communities essentially appeals to everyone. So it's consensus based. So if we, like a pastor, everybody in the church would say, without the pastor could be running cults, but everyone, general consensus is the pastor is good, so he's high virtued. A man must have elements of all three to be considered high valued. You have to. And not only just high value, but high value to you.
Right.
Because again, it's relative. So, but the thing about it is, no man will have a balance of all three because he's perfect, and there are no perfect men. So that's essentially what high value means. And so when we talk about high value within our cultural kind of like space, we're really most times talking about high earning.
Money,
And we're
right.
talking about money because that's what's perceived as success in our culture. That's the reason why also we have a lot of problems. It's the reason why we're losing our way, because we're just so focused on the paper.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
There are other communities where they value religion. They say money's the root of all evil, and if you're a holy person, you go to heaven. To them, there's an emphasis more on the high virtued as being a high value man, right? So basically, essentially, that's what my wife is saying.
Just had to let him explain that.
Yo, so first off, you
babe.
getting love. You getting love for that right now. She like, look at her, letting him lead the conversation. So I want to give a couple shout outs. Shout out to Bam Bam Lynch for sending over the super chat. He says, you'll have a man attached to your relationship for life. I'm not sure exactly what that meant, Bam, but we appreciate you. Shout out to Andre Hatchett, Notary King. He says, match this super chat. He did a nice super chat.
Yeah, we do accept super chats.
Match this super chat because they're giving out games. So guys, this is the thing. If you like what's happening right now, if you love what's happening right now on this platform right now, I want you to drop a yes in the comments right now. And I got a couple people I want to call out real quick. Shout out to Kay, shout out to Janelle, shout out to Jay, shout out to Candace. Malevolent. Listen, Malevolent Elephant, man, we need you to join the YouTube membership because this engagement you got is excellent. We gotta have you join the community. So we can go ahead and get back to it, Ty.
I want
know
to
you
ask
ready.
this here, Jacoby. Like, if you had a child, assuming you had a child, would that sway your thoughts on being able to date a woman with children? Is it because you're a man with no kids that
That's a
puts
good
you at that point?
It's a very good question.
Would it sway? No. I still, my preference would still be a woman without children. Just again, the normal dynamic would be, let's say if I'm not with the person who I had a child with, obviously I'm dating, it's probably a good chance that she still has the kid majority of the time, right? And I'm probably still out trying to figure out how to provide for her and the child and me, right? And that's the big difference when you talked about high value too. Like a lot of people are high value providing for themselves, right? It's a different thing of being high value providing for you,
Right.
your child, this person, and another person.
Right.
That's, what is that, 4 people versus 1. So my preference would still be thinking about the math, right? And now I have another person to feed, I have another person outside of this child, which is the father that I still have to deal with, right? So there's so many other variables that I still would have to deal with even with me having a child. And I think it's different from a woman dating a man with a child versus a man dating a woman with a child.
Let's talk about that. So let's talk about that, because that was actually going to be my follow-up question. And I was going to ask that, is there a difference between a single father with a child in the dating marketplace and a single mother with a child in the dating marketplace?
Absolutely.
I'm dropping that. That's a poll.
Put that in
I'm
the
dropping
poll.
that one.
Let's talk about it. Adrian, I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate is what it is, because for every single mother, there's someone that made her one.
Yep.
Whether it's because they divorced or because they didn't make it to marriage, but they were together forever, whatever the case might be, for every single woman, for every single mom, there is a single dad. But for some reason, a man going grocery shopping with his child is adorable.
Yeah.
A woman doing it is, oh, hell, she probably using food stamps.
The struggle.
It's always a struggle, right? I did not struggle when I just had me and my daughter, hence me buying a house. You know, I actually lived an amazing life. However, it's like I had to work 2 times harder just to be treated as a woman who happens to have a child instead of you're a single mom.
Yeah.
And men don't deal with that because women find fatherhood sexy.
They do.
We
Yeah.
love the way that y'all do things.
Ooh, my
with your
ovaries.
sons, all of that. We do.
You calling your homegirls? He be taking care of his son. He
yeah,
be matching Jordans.
baby, exactly. He took it to a game.
Yeah.
You know, my husband's
He's gonna
taught
be a
his
great
sons
father.
how to play, how to code and build games and taught him all that type of stuff. It's very sexy, but a man does not think a woman being a mom is sexy unless it's his woman. Outside of that, y'all just it's biased. It's extremely
we're
biased.
thinking
biased.
about like pregnancy scars. We're thinking about how your stomach may look. We're thinking about the vagina may not be at the
Yeah,
same.
all the wrong stuff.
Yeah,
y'all
we're
thinking about all the wrong
I'm not gonna
stuff.
listen. I'm not gonna lie.
exactly-
Jacoby's just being very honest right
Honestly,
now.
no, that's this is stuff that honestly most guys won't say, but in like barbershop talk of men,
That's what
guys
they
are
say.
all
Bro, I'm gonna
talking
tell you,
about
this
those
one girl
things.
on
That's what
IG
they say.
ain't gonna say her name. When I tell you this chick so bad, but she got 3 kids, right? She probably like 24, 25. And when I was looking at her IG, I was literally like, yo, if I see her outside, it's on. Because I don't really slide in the DMs, but I know because the presence is different. But I seen her outside. I was at a barbershop and she pulled up and she was picking up her kids. And she had all 3 kids hopping in her Benz. And I was like, damn, I've been waiting to see her outside for the longest. But I seen her with those, she never posted kids. And then, well, actually I went through the page and I seen, oh, she does post them 1 every 30 posts, right? But instantly the attraction level for me had went down like dramatically. And I was like, damn, I started thinking about like, damn, it's not gonna hit the same.
Ooh, please let me say
Sex.
something to
Hold on,
that.
wait. You talking about the sex
The
life?
sex
Yeah.
not gonna hit the same. That's what my
so
thought
is
was.
sex different with women that have had multiple children? Is
I
that a
cannot-
difference?
well,
It could be.
I can't relate.
We
to
don't have those problems.
Keep it real, my brother. It's a
But
difference.
I mean,
Seriously, I'm trying to actually because
Be
maybe
appropriate.
it's because I grew up somewhere else because I actually realized I don't really have the American young African American man experience as you guys do. So, but I did not think about when I think about single women with kids. I don't think about whether the vagina is going to be What I actually think about is, will I be able to discipline the kids? Because I'm not gonna have no badass kids eating off of me, and I can't literally raise them the way they should, that they get away with stuff. So that's what I think about. I don't really necessarily think about whether or not,
it's still tight.
it's attractive, because when I look at a woman and I look at her physical appearance, and if she hits everything that I like to be attractive, she's attractive. I don't, you know what I mean? So I can't really relate.
So what I want to say is, this is for the single moms, whether you were married or not, because like he said, for some men, there's a difference between a woman who has a child who was never married and a woman who has a child that was married. I was married twice. So that means the first time when I got married as a single mom, I was not married prior to that, but I still got married. And it's because of the type of, woman I am, the kind of things that we valued, all that good stuff. Didn't work out, married somebody else. Before I met my husband, I met other men who, there was one guy in particular that I've talked to you about, babe,
Yep.
who was older.
Yep.
And this is why we end up dealing with older guys who also have other experiences, because he actually told me, oh, you're seasoned.
Exactly.
You're seasoned. So you're young, you're 20, I think I was 26, you've been married, you've been divorced, and you have kids. You're seasoned. So that means I kind of won't have to teach you how to do certain things. And I was like, if that's how you want to look at it, sure. He said that must mean it's good.
Exactly.
If you have 3 kids.
That's what I think too.
He didn't say
You
the
know what I mean?
opposite. And I was like, okay. We'll run with that.
Let's roll with it.
It depends.
Perspective.
It truly depends on the man.
Yep.
Because this was a man who was about, I think, 40, 41 years old, very
Yep.
well
Yeah.
established, was in real estate doing his thing and all of that. His mentality was, if somebody got 3 of them things out of you,
Yep.
something must be popping some power somewhere for this. He was like, how long were you married? And you had 2. Okay.
I call it
All right.
deductive reasoning,
Yeah.
basically. Like that. And I'll be 40 next year. I see things very differently. And Jacoby, I actually had your perspective before, but that was because of my Nigerian upbringing. Like, I feel like Nigerians don't necessarily, well, I'm not saying that, let me not speak for all Nigerians, but my traditional values, we don't believe in divorce. And because of that, I looked at single moms differently before I got divorced.
Yeah.
When I got divorced and older, it changed because I was like, okay, now I understand how people can get divorced, whether it's their fault or not, because somebody chooses to just say, I don't want to be in a relationship. And now I can see how people can end up with kids that they have to just take care of
100%.
on their own. So that changed my perspective. And I'll tell you this, maybe not for you, maybe not for the people listening, but age will change your perspective.
100%.
It will. If you think what you think now, I guarantee you 10 years from now, you're going to be like, well, I thought that? Like,
Yeah.
that don't even make no sense no more, because you're seasoned, as you said, because you've experienced more things. So that changed my perspective in a lot of things, not just kids and divorce.
And I think too, Ty, when you asked me that question about I'm kind of like on the fence.
Right.
I think the part of me being on the fence is that I'm really aware of change.
Yep.
And I'm talking and I'm thinking about, am I going to feel this way 10 years from now, 5 years from now? So I'm talking from a yes right now. My preference is not to date a woman with kids, right? But I'm like, damn, am I going to feel the same way in 5-10 years if I'm still like single at this point? It's like almost inevitable for this person to have children. Right. So that's what I'm kind of like torn on it.
Most men are like that, though. This is another gem for the ladies, because I'm here for a reason. Okay.
Okay.
Most men
Talk your shit.
say whatever they say. But if you are a dope woman, if you know what you bring to the table, what you value, all of those good things, them talking is just them talking. It doesn't mean anything.
Now,
you
here's
can
the-
make a man change his mind
I agree.
without you trying to make him change his mind.
I agree.
But here's, ladies, I would recommend, and we would probably agree with me on this. If he say he ain't dating no woman with kids,
That's different,
Don't
yes.
try to be
I'm not-
Harry Potter
I'm not-
on this man and
not-
spend a
I'm-
year, 2, 3, but
I'm not
burning
saying
that
that.
time. Don't do
No,
that.
if somebody straight up tells you what they want and all that, you let them have what they want. But there have been men that have said all of these things about, oh, once I saw her cover photo on Facebook, it let me know everything I need to know. But then those same type
Wait,
of
I
men.
posted that.
You supposed to-
Did you?
I'm kidding.
Oh God! Because
I'm
you
kidding.
probably
I'm
really did
kidding.
post something like that. But those type of people will still be the type of men that will be in my DMs
Whoa.
before I got married.
You calling somebody out?
No,
Is that
it was
what you
honestly it's just how they were. I'm not calling
Being
anyone in
inconsistent.
particular
They're not
out.
being congruent with their
I
message.
can- I can-
No,
What you're
they're
saying.
not, because men make exceptions for who they want to make exceptions for. They don't
Completely
tell
agree.
you
Right.
that up front.
Yep.
But if somebody, like he said, it's like, and I honestly, I don't think there's anything wrong with you wanting what you want. I don't.
Yeah.
I think
Absolutely.
there's like
Yeah,
everybody's
my preference
entitled
isn't
to
governance over everybody else. It's
As
just
it
a
should
preference.
be.
Yes.
Wait,
As it should be.
now listen. We just got a fire question in, so I want to do a couple things. I want to come back to you, but I'm gonna close this real quick at 62 votes. Is there a difference between a single mother and a single dad in the dating marketplace? And
I'm sure everybody
84%,
said yes.
yeah, 84%
Yeah,
of
there's
people
a
actually
difference.
agree with you. So I'm in that poll, but. I got a question for you before I come back to Jacob, because this is sent in by Andre Hatchett. Shout out to Andre. He asked a really good question. See, Andre, he trying to talk to the mom now.
Okay.
He trying to talk to you as the mom. Would you, as the mother and father of a son who's a doctor, let's say he's 27 years old, no kids, hypothetical situation, and he's earning $250,000 a year, condo in Buckhead. So that's the profile of your son.
Okay.
This
At
my life.
27.
This is my life.
Would you guys approve or want him to marry a woman with 2 kids by 2 different men?
That's not enough information to answer the question, because again, her circumstances has nothing to do with what she values now. Her circumstances has nothing to do with what her current reality might be. So she could have been someone in a situation where she got married and divorced. And it truly depends on, for one, none of our sons will be with a woman who does not like who don't have it together in their head, because she has to go through me first. Like, I don't play about that. But they wouldn't. It would really just depend on what she values.
So
like,
you'll be open to letting him date a woman with kids, period.
None of my sons,
marry, I should
none
say.
of my sons will be with any woman that does not exemplify any traits that I don't have. So it really just depends on what traits she has. I would hope that they would choose a woman who is similar to me, whether it's my stepsons or my son. So it depends. That her having kids, that's the point. It's not about that. It's not. It's more about how she thinks, who she is, what she values, where she comes from. Like,
So she checks all these great boxes.
Yeah.
Okay, but she still has that situation going on with 2 kids, 2 different men.
Okay.
Would you go about okaying that woman for your son?
if she has all those things,
Yes.
absolutely. Because it's not about the kids. What does that have to do with whether he should marry her or not?
Well, isn't it? I mean, if I'm assuming, I mean, that's a good profile. Now, still, nobody's mentioned character yet, right?
But that's the problem.
But listen, let's assume he did have a good character. Wouldn't you tell your son, hey, I mean, I understand you like this woman, but it's a bunch of women out there that would have those same qualities she has that probably don't have children?
Well, let me throw this in. What if that woman was worth $50 million?
As well.
Would
What
that
if she
change your
comes from a
perspective? What if she
family
comes
of
from
wealth?
from Dynasty? Y'all watch Dynasty?
Yeah.
You see my point?
That would be.
Exactly.
So
She
is
might
it
get
the
wifed up,
money?
yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what she's trying
the
to point.
I think
kids-
we're speaking in general, though. I think you're being more forensic than what we're asking. If we just speak in general in the actual question, I think you're getting too deep into the forensics.
No.
But that's,
that's
the thing.
the
That's the whole
point.
point. The whole
But you
point.
can any conversation you can get forensic and then find a way to ask it. But I think, is it ideal? If we say the word ideal, would it be ideal for you as a mom with your with your kid, based on the attributes that he just mentioned for your son
And good character.
and good character,
Okay.
to date a woman with 2 children from 2 different fathers, and he brought that to you, and that's all you know, right? Because that's probably what all he's gonna say. How do you respond?
If you
No,
were, if
give
you were,
her good character. She has good character.
She has
okay.
good character.
No,
So-
but
okay, good
that's-
character.
So first of all, I think that's indicative of how we make decisions. If anyone is making decisions about what person their son or daughter should marry based on that alone, they failed
That
as
is a
parents.
problem. That's
a
the point.
problem.
That's the point.
It's like saying, hey, go take this job. All you know about it is they're paying you $100,000 plus a year, 6 figures, and it's in San Francisco. You don't know about the work ethic. You don't know about the culture. You don't know about the location. You don't know about anything else. You go over there and then you find out that there are wildfires there and it burnt down your building. Whatever. I don't want to go into details, but you're not making effective decisions.
Right.
Any one of you have daughters too?
Yes.
Or just,
Yeah, we have
okay,
2
so
daughters.
let's say switch it. Let's say your daughter comes to you and she has a guy, and this guy has 2 felonies of attempted murder, right?
Why we gotta go do all
No,
of
no,
that?
continue. Continue.
He has 2 felonies, right?
Let's hear it. Let's hear it
Yeah,
out.
he has two felonies, but he's a reformed gangster, whatever it may be, right? And he has great character, and he's up. He has plenty of money, but he's had some anger issues in the past that he
Throwing a whole.
obviously he had attempted murder charges, but now she's coming to you and saying, Mom, I love this guy. He's changed. He's changed man. He's a reformed gangster. He used to sell drugs. He used to scam. He used to do all these things.
Sorry,
But he has 2 felonies. You don't think that... how would you respond to that?
First thing I would do is I would say, the hell? Like, and then if she is, as the dad, right? Because I would just be like, babe, sit down. I'm going to take care of this. I would say, okay, if you're adamant and passionate about marrying this guy, I need to speak with him.
Okay.
And then when he comes, I'll ask him, like, so why did you go to prison? What did you do? If my man says, well, it was a false charge, this happened, blah, blah, blah,
What if
blah,
it's
blah.
domestic violence?
Domestic violence.
Let's say domestic
So
violence. How
that-
would you feel?
So what I would say is, if it was domestic violence
Babe,
and
stay
you,
in front of the mic.
oh, I'm sorry, if it's domestic violence and you did something, you did it, it was intentional, it was deliberate, that's against my values as a parent and as an individual, I would say no, flat out, right? The point is I would get context. The point is I would get more information to make an effective decision. That's what I would do in any circumstances, even when I go to the bathroom. Like, I'm trying to exaggerate, but I get as much detail as possible to make an effective decision. Now, I know that you were given that example to emphasize a point, but most times it's not that cutout. It's not that black and white.
Right.
It's usually very gray. So what my wife is trying to say, and what I'm trying to say is we should not be making generalized statements based on cultural bias.
Well, see, now
that's what it is.
That's true, but I mean, generalizing things is how we often can protect ourselves as well, right? So I understand every single mom might not be horrible,
Yep.
Right.
but as a general rule of thumb, do you not think that that's a good idea to tell your children, hey, try to find you somebody without kids and that already have additional responsibilities?
I guess my question is, to what end is the intention to prevent you getting divorced? Because that has nothing to do with the rate of divorce in this country.
Is it
the
for her to
intention-
not take his money?
Is it
No,
for her to not-
just contingent on that. It's just more responsibility. Let's just say it's just more responsibility alone.
I guess fundamentally, I think differently because I never make decisions on generalized notions, because just as much as you can protect yourself, you can mislead yourself. Just
Very
as much
easily.
as you can save yourself, you can hurt yourself. Generalizing. Just as much as you can be successful, you can fail.
I think
So-
that's a really good point. I think what most people here, especially the people in the chat, we understand that kids come with additional responsibilities.
Yes, they do.
And it makes the late relationship a lot more difficult. Like, it's already hard enough to just have synergy and have a successful relationship
It is.
without children in most cases. And then when you add children into the equation, it can be extremely difficult, especially
Right.
on day one,
That's true.
adding children into the situation. So there could be a high likelihood that putting all of this pressure and weight on the bar at one time could be a lot and too much for some people, especially in this situation when you giving it somebody who potentially has options to be able to have somebody like that. I'm assuming this person will probably have the pick of the litter.
But
right?
here's what I want to say. We're assuming that he values whatever the hell y'all are basically talking about, because it goes back to the pressure and all these things. If I'm not even going to say our sons, because it will just sound like we're biased.
Yep.
But let's say it's a man that I've referenced earlier who actually values family. That may not be pressure to him.
Exactly.
It might not.
Might actually
What
be a
might
blessing.
what might be pressure to him is something completely different. Instead, he may not want kids. He may be cool with tending to somebody else's because it's easier than him having to go through whatever with having his own. He may not want it.
True.
I met a man who told me he was the only man I considered dating that did not have kids, and I only considered him because he said he didn't want them. And I asked him, well, you have a very successful business, so what happens like when you're gone? He said, I'm giving it to my partner. He said, I know how I was as a child. I don't want another me, but I love kids. I'm cool with kids, and I would rather help somebody with their kids and, do my thing. So that's why I'm like, that's not enough information. Regardless of if it's our sons or somebody else, it truly just depends on what he values. Now, if you said this 27-year-old values starting a family of his own, don't. If my son is like, I can't wait to have my own legacy, do not deal with anybody that has children.
Right. And let me use my own perspective, right? Let me use my experience. I married somebody who, no shade to her, if she's watching. I married somebody who fit the category of like, well, I didn't marry somebody who had kids. I married somebody who was single, right? So from general terms, they fit that good, category of marrying, getting married, right? I married that person, and then that person ended up being the worst person of my life. As opposed to, I found somebody with 3 children who technically fit the category of a single mother and saved me and completely changed my whole life to the point where I'm reaching levels I've never reached before. So if you're asking me, based on my experience, which is how people go and make decisions based on what they see growing up, I'm going to tell you, absolutely consider it. Because 1, it's not enough information. And 2, just off of consistency and principle, I cannot say don't consider somebody who does not have kids, because I'll be contradicting my whole existence right now.
See,
I'll be
that's the thing.
contradicting the fact that I met somebody with kids. I've contradicted that whole notion of, it's like saying, well, you'll never be able to fly because we're not birds and birds don't fly. And then 100 years later, niggas is in the air flying on
I think it's
Pan
like-
Am.
No, so I get
You
what
see
you're
what I'm
saying.
saying?
The only thing is, we speaking of a lot of specifics tonight. It's all about specific situations. When the thing is, you can't coach a kid off a specific situation. You can
can't.
only coach about what tends to happen.
What would that
So-
be, I guess, in this situation?
The only thing that I can say with definitively in any situation, a single person is taking on a person with children, is that the person with children has more responsibility. That's all. That's the only thing I can say with definiteness. So I'm only talking about that situation, but I don't want to stick on that too much because
Okay.
the thing is, I still want to talk about how men operate with single women in the marketplace and how single women operate.
Can I touch on that too?
No,
before go?
we passed that. We passed that. So this thing, Jacob, I want to ask you because you gave the scenario with the young lady and the 3 kids. You seen her put the 3 kids in the bins.
She was
Even though
bad.
you had no long-term interest in her, would you still have would you still be sexually intimate if she gave you the opportunity?
No, I wouldn't even waste their time. I wouldn't even waste the time. I 5 years ago, yes, but no, it's just like now everything that I'm pursuing is me thinking about my energy, when you talk about high value, I value myself and giving my body away also. So I'm just not out here having sex with every woman that I meet. So I wouldn't even give her the time of day.
I think most men would probably say, "What do you think?" I think they would say they would probably. I mean, based on she's all of these
Y'all would
beautiful
definitely
characteristics.
smash.
Yeah,
No,
Y'all
no,
would
she
smash.
was
I feel like
bad.
most men
She
would
was
say
so
that.
bad that one of my homies, because I'm in some group chats with like some very affluent people. He sent me her page because he seen that we followed each other. He's like, "Yo, you got the info on here? Well, like, what's the word?" I'm like, "Bro, she got 3 kids." He's like, "Oh, damn, I'm good."
I think most guys would have still tried to maintain some
Nah,
level of sexual
good.
relationship. Do you think that that's right for a man to do? To even though he has no long term interest in a woman with kids, do you think it's still right for him to pursue just solely sexual relationship?
I don't think that is right, but it depends on like if the woman is also interested in the same thing. She might not care. She might just want to smash you too because she don't want you either. So it's not just about y'all. She might be like, you know what? I wouldn't marry him anyway, but I haven't had none in a while. So you will never meet my kids, but you could be gone by 12 o'clock.
Now,
See, I don't
okay.
even give it up like that.
Now, he also mentioned that he went back and looked at this young lady's page to see if she marketed her kids on Instagram
Right.
or if she shared, So do you think that is certain things that single women can do just in a general practice to mitigate any potentially negative responses or stereotypes from single men or just men in general in the marketplace?
Yes, I think that she can make herself very clear that she's only interested in men that want her and her kids. She should not hide them. She should not, hit them with the 1-2 every other week type thing. But she also does not have to post them all the time because I feel a smart man would see that if she's not posting them a lot, it means that she has a life outside of her children, which is actually very attractive to men. Men want you to have a life outside of just being a mom. That's actually what makes them want to pursue you. So her sharing or not sharing solely should depend on what she's doing. Some men might say, you know what? I see that she's out and about with her kids quite often. That means she takes care of herself. She takes care of them. They seem to be going places. This might be something he's currently doing with his own kids. So it could be attractive. It really just depends. But I would never tell any single mom to play any game to try to come off more or less attractive. But I will say to make sure you do have a life outside of your kids. And people shouldn't always, be privy to what that life is anyway.
100%.
I like that.
I'll say this too. I think with dating a woman with 2 or 3 kids, it's not fair, right? For me as a man, as a single man with no children.
I
because
completely agree.
She's coming in with ulterior motives. She already has a mindset that she has to date a man that can provide. She already is thinking in her mind she has to date a man that can help her and her children, because why even date, right? Why even waste your time? Why even pursue just going out and having a good time when you know what's happening at home? Because now every dollar and time spent needs to be figuring out how to take care of your household.
Wait. So are you
Let me
saying?
just-
Hold on. Are you saying that women with children typically prioritize a man that makes more money, that has enough capacity to take care of her and the kids?
Who makes more money between you two?
He does.
Right? So just an experience, women naturally date up. men typically date down, right?
But what's considered? Well,
When you-
technically, yeah. When men date down.
Yeah, we date down when it comes to finance.
Yeah,
When it comes down to
because y'all don't
finance.
normally need
I can
that.
see a girl at McDonald's, if she bad enough, I'll save her.
Exactly,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like women don't go out here and say that you could be the most handsome, most attractive, funniest guy in the world, but if you're not doing the work and putting in the attributes to be that high value man, when we talked about 6 figures, having a certain type of status, it doesn't matter how attractive you are. Women not trying to date
But
you.
let me actually interject, because to be honest, Jacoby, I think the world would actually be a better place if women actually dated like that in general. I think if
Yeah.
women actually thought from day one, is this man a good provider and has father-like qualities
Yes.
from day one? Like, does this man have the capability and capacity to provide?
Yeah.
Does this man have because when a woman has children, she takes the vetting process way more
Very
serious, because it's not
seriously.
even about just her, it's her and the cub's survival. So like, if now she's thinking with foresight, whereas a woman who's single, she could be a lot more loose and compromise what she wants and what she really needs long term way easier. So the problem is women are not thinking like that.
Exactly.
Actually, more often. So they're actually settling for these dudes who are way less qualified, and they're ending up in those single parent relationships because they did not think with
Exactly.
hindsight.
But they're chasing a certain type of guy. Like if we go to statistically speaking, 20% of the men are impregnating 80% of the women. You know what I'm saying? So those men who are high value, or even those women that want to date that 20%, they're not pursuing the men that aren't doing anything. Now somebody may bamboozle you, you may get caught slipping, but for the most part, you have a mindset of what type of guy you want to date, right? You're seeing all these things on social media and these lifestyles of somebody showing what they're doing, how they're living. Women are watching these men, affluent men, and saying, this is the type of guy that I want to be with. Like even prime example, just for me, like I told you, I'm in some group chats with some NBA players, some rappers, and I've sent a girl a sweet message like, hey, I would love to take you out. And I see one of the homies who just ratchet as ever, send her a pound sign and she'll send a phone number, right? Because he got on a jewelry, he got on the ice, and she knows she's going to have a certain type of experience.
I've heard those
with this
stories.
guy. And I'm like,
yeah.
damn, like,
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, top of the morning, queen. Grand rising, beautiful.
Wait, so Adriana,
So-
Adriana, you think that that's okay for a single mom or just any woman in general to really prioritize the financial capacity of a man?
So first, I want to say I agreed with the beginning of what he said about it being unfair. A woman with multiple kids, like wanting to be with a man that doesn't have any, I could see how it would feel unfair to him, because it's like, well, damn, I don't really have any more room to like grow here. Where I completely disagree is basically everything after that, because that is solely based off of the type of woman you are
That you're-
coming in contact with.
100%.
Because I'm the type of woman that have talked to men when I was dating and let them know, for me, if you make $50,000 a year and you cross every box of what I value, you will make a great father figure, you're supportive, you understand love languages, and you're just in tune with me and you care about me and all that type of stuff, I would take that man any day than the $200,000 man who could not for the life of him be considerate of me, knows that my love language is words of affirmation, is not family oriented, could care less about, tending to me, because I make my own money. So that only comes into play with a woman who don't have none.
Yeah. Like, where are you looking for women? That's the first thing. Where are you looking for the people? Because like, even with me, I rarely found women who emulate all the things you guys have said. I did not see that. I found a lot of women on Match, the same place that people would say, well, you're going to get a lot of these types of women. I found a lot of women who literally were great women, who were family oriented, who aligned with what I wanted. So that's why I said I can't relate. I mean,
Yeah, definitely a certain
just
type.
looked
Like
at-
you made a point. It's a certain type,
It's
and I'm not
definitely a
type.
not marginalizing saying all women. Like definitely not, right? But my point was, even I think still from statistics, women typically do focus on dating up, right? It's just point
we
being clear.
should always, like he said, if we are going to allow, whether we have kids or not, if we are going to place our lives in your hands, you need to be able to take care of us, period. That's just
I agree.
from jump. So regardless of how much money we're making, you need to be in a position to where if something were to happen to me, I don't have to work while I'm pregnant because
I think what I'm saying is the more kids that you have, I think your requirements or your expectations gets higher and higher because now you have to date someone that could help not only you, but
Right.
child 1, child 2, child 3, child 4. When you talk about 50,000,
Right.
a person with 50,000 in comparison to 200,000, they can both have similar attributes. Let's say the exact same. Just naturally, the money of the 200,000 is going to put this person over the person of
But
50,000.
that's what I'm saying to you.
Quick question.
It's
This is a question in the
not.
chat. I want to ask this really quickly.
And yo,
'Cause
join
this-
the YouTube membership, guys. Join the YouTube membership, and we're getting ready to open up a Q&A shortly after Tyshawn drops this for us.
Yes, because I want to know this. I want to get both of you guys, both sides' opinion on this one here. Does a woman's standard change in men after she have children? Do the standards typically change after? Because it seems like the conversation here is saying that there's usually a disconnect before and after. I want to know, you let me know this, Adriana, before you had children or earlier on, even just early in your life, were you looking for a different man then than when you were looking for at the point after your divorce?
I wasn't looking for a different type of man, but I was dating based off of my self-love at the time, which was low. So that took over everything. If my self-love then was what it is now, I would have never ran into any issues. But I ran into issues because I didn't know who I was. I didn't know myself. So I was able to settle for things that the version of me that is whole would never deal with. So it's not because of the man, it's because of me. It's because back then I was young, I didn't have the best examples of what I should follow. So I didn't stand for anything, so I fell for everything. And unfortunately, that left me with having kids. That left me in divorce. That left me in situations where I had to self-reflect and figure out what the hell I was doing wrong so that I could go back to the drawing board and actually go for what I knew I wanted in the first place. And I feel like sometimes single moms get chided, and it's like, well, how is it that your expectations are this after you did this, this, and this? Well, that's exactly why. We no longer have room to fail in that area. So most of the time, it's not that what we want changed. It's that we've gone through so much that we no longer have a choice but to stop playing ourselves and go for what we said we wanted in the first place.
No, I mean, that's,
She looking
it.
like, yeah.
I get it. No, it makes perfect sense.
said that.
Perfect sense.
It makes perfect
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, I touched on that with on the show actually. That was on episode 2 with the young lady in the reunion. I mentioned that I asked her how does she date when she was younger and what type of guys was she dating. She was like, the popular guys, the athletes, the who's who. And now that she's had all of those experiences and now she has a child, she wants to date someone who's probably was in the house doing the work, studying, focusing on his career, probably wasn't outside, probably wasn't getting much attention from women.
Family oriented.
And now, hey, I'm ready to settle down. I'm in my 30s, right? I'm coming over to hump a little bit and I want to settle down and find a guy who's in the house, but now, not saying she's used up or whatever, but it's just like the thought process is like, damn, do I really want to be that guy?
Yeah,
who
the settled guy.
The guy who you settled after you experienced all of these guys and you traveled and you did all these dope things, and now you want to settle with me and be the guy that come and take care of your child. I just was like,
I think honestly, it's funny because a woman could say whatever she said and a man will hear something completely different. But there are some women that literally do exactly that, where they have fun with the football players and the this, the that. That is the case for some women. And for me, I've actually always had the same type, but I've gravitated toward certain parts of me that I felt wherever I was at the time of my life was accessible. Unfortunately, men like him was not accessible when I was younger. This man is 10 years older than me. I really wish I've met him 10 years ago, but I would have been like in high school or something somewhere. But sometimes it's not the guy that we settle for. It's when you find yourself, it's realizing that this is what you like the whole time. You masked the fun guy with a guy who maybe could make you feel seen and heard. So you associate that with that. And then you realize, well, just because he's fun doesn't mean he sees me. And it's like the whole masculine thing. You associate big muscles with protection. And a lot of us want to feel protected. So we go to the guy that's the biggest dude in the room or the one that's always in fights until we end up being in an emotionally, connected relationship and realize that this dude doesn't protect me emotionally.
Getting your ass whooped.
Yeah, like you fight me. Like this is not what I thought I was getting.
Yeah.
But we will assume that the quiet guy is not the masculine guy because we have this visual of him needing to be this big, loud dude. And that's why it's not necessarily that we settle for certain things. We can tear away the toxic meanings that we've placed because of the things that we've seen.
Exactly, because of your experiences. Because a lot of people change course because of failure. So
Yeah.
not saying that you failed, but you experienced occurrences that ended up negatively to you. So it's like doing something and then it goes bad, and then doing it over and over again. At one point in time, you're going to be like, well, what about this? What about this other alternative? So I don't necessarily think that it's women having children that changes their perspective and their, appeal with what they want in men, but perhaps the values, what they value because of the child,
Yes,
what they
it's that.
value from their experience changes as a result of a lot of factors, perhaps age, perhaps environment, perhaps what they want for the child. So, and men do this too. We do it. We date as you said, when you guys were talking, I was thinking about how we equate women dating men who provide is, in my opinion, it has a direct correlation to men dating beautiful women, right? Younger women. It's the same biological impulses that we have. These are all things that are like rooted in our ancestry because women typically married men who you could provide for them. And men typically married beautiful women because they believed that you had strong genes. You would have beautiful daughters that you could basically trade for land, for property. So those things then affect how we do things today. So men we do this too. We get older and then we're like, that don't even matter. If she got a nice booty and she looked good, and maybe she got a couple kids.
Yeah, I'll get a nanny.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I feel like there's that same, it's like the same side. I mean, it's like a different side to the same coin.
It's evolution in many ways,
Exactly.
the evolution of needs and values.
Exactly.
And I want to actually talk solutions here because I think a lot of women are actually in a position that you were once in, and I think they want to know what the sauce is, Adriana. Because
Get a sauce.
when I'm talking sauce right now, I think a lot of women are very discouraged in the place that you were in. And you could probably even speak on it because you might have even felt a bit discouraged as well, being in a place where you were divorced, you had kids, what society considers baggage. And now you want to put yourself in a position to still build a good family. You're
Right.
family oriented. You want the best for your family. And you were still able to get a man who loves you, your children, and wants to build alongside of you. And I think every woman wants the exact same thing. So what is it? How do you replicate that? Do you just create a profile on Match?
No.
Is that what it is? Is it as simple as
No.
that? What do we got to do to get there?
This is the specific reason why I created the Breakup Blueprint. It's a 90-day blueprint that I went through after my divorce. And it took me some time. I didn't initially, have this process. After my divorce, initially, I didn't like none of y'all. I had trust issues.
Got it.
I didn't want to be around y'all. For some reason, that was the most times when men was meeting me, talking about, I'm looking for a wife. I'd be like, I'm retired. Just please go away. I didn't want to be bothered. And the ones that did get through, I would go on a date and they'd be like, I can tell you're very guarded. And I'm like, yeah, I am. I'm here because you kept asking me to be here, basically.
Wow.
I'm still going to have a good time with you, but I don't like y'all right now. So eventually I had to, just kind of get it together because I knew that even though I was hurt, not because of him. I was hurt for myself. I was hurt because I put myself in that situation, because I said yes to a marriage that I should have said no to. We should have vetted each other better. We should have asked better questions, you know? I realized that I was not the type of wife that he was looking for, and he was not the type of husband I was looking for, but instead, because we made great friends, I thought, you know, maybe it could work. So I had to hold myself accountable for the things that I missed. And that was when I stopped being angry, because I was like, well, you kind of didn't do this, and this. So then I was like, all right, this is my last time that I'm going to be crying in this shower.
Wow.
Because I had kids that we said we would give a 2-parent household to, because we didn't grow up in it. We had plans and it didn't work. So I was pissed. I was very, very, very pissed, because I knew better. And I'm sure that a lot of women relate to that, because a lot of times people don't consider that it wasn't her just busting it open and having a baby. It could have been promises that were made and not kept. It could have been her trying to stay because she did not want, you know, what's attached to being considered a single mom, but at what expense, you know? So I went through that whole process, and then one day I was like, all right, you gotta get over it. Like, you're never gonna end up giving your kids what you wanted to give them. Just because you weren't able to do it in your marriage does not mean you can't do it after the fact. So I had to really realize that, like, all right, maybe it's not how I wanted it to go, but that doesn't mean that it can't happen. It will never be the way I wanted it to be. And that's the thing that I had to just accept. But I also realized it didn't mean that it wouldn't be better. So 90 days, I went through like a 5-step process for myself. And I was like, all right, I didn't know it was going to be 90 days, but it ended up just being 90 days. And I was like, damn, that's all I had to do? What's the thing that I said, babe? It's 3 things. Your self-love and your confidence plays a role in the friendships you create, the jobs you take, and the men you date.
Yep.
So if you don't have that, your life will remain the same.
Absolutely.
You'll keep making the same mistakes
Well, hold
over
on,
and over
wait.
and over again.
I want to hear those again. It was the jobs you take,
job-
the men you date.
No, that's last.
That's
Okay.
last.
The jobs you take,
Okay.
your self-love and confidence, or lack thereof,
Okay.
plays a role in the friends you create, the jobs you take, and the men you date. If you do not work on that first, you will do the same thing that made you a single mom in the first place. Because that's what made me a single mom and divorced in the first place. I dated where my self-love level was at. Not that they were bad guys, but the woman that I am today, it's a reason I have a man like him. So when you're a single mom, it's very difficult to believe that you can even get to that level. But I had to start with that first. Well, what kind of friends do I have? What kind of jobs am I accepting? Sometimes you accept things because you just got to pay bills. Sometimes you just do what you got to do, but how long do you want to do that?
Exactly.
So I created a life to where I was working from home. I had an amazing life when I met you. I was like just floating
Dude,
around, doing what I wanted to do.
hard to
I was
lock her
out and
down.
about. You wouldn't have known I had 3 kids.
Wow.
Because of my self-love that I rebuilt at that time. And people can tell when your self-love is low. And because I had low self-esteem at one point in my life, I can sense it with other people. I'm nicer to those people because I can sense it, but not everybody is. Which is why you have to work on that.
Yes, you
when
do.
you do, everything else, literally, it sounds cliche, but it truly does come together, because you end up building your values, you build your boundaries, you end up learning what you will and will not tolerate. And that keeps you from making the same mistakes. And then that shows up on you when you go to these dates with men wanting to be around you. And even with showing up on a dating site, I didn't even realize I literally posted 21 photos. I knew I posted
did.
a lot.
God.
I was very intentional.
That's a full profile.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a fashion shoot.
After those 90 days, I was like, all right, let me be intentional about wanting to try again. And I met him 2 weeks later.
Wow.
And in conversation, he was just like, how many kids you have? Where are you going? What are you doing? I had a life, but I had to really learn how to enjoy that life and my situation. Sometimes as a single mom, it's very difficult to not feel burdened when you have to do everything by yourself. And it affects how you show up, even for your kids. So getting yourself in a position to where you accept look, this is what I'm having to do with me and my kids, but I want to be in a position to where I'm actually happy. It's very difficult to be in that position when you're still blaming the other person for making you a single mom in the first place. But that's why you have to go back to your self-love and just acceptance. Because when you do, you stop waiting for, just someone coming to and apologize to you. You stop waiting for closure because you're banking on someone to care about you enough to apologize, and they may not be sorry. So I had to literally be very intentional for 90 days about how I wanted to revive my life. And after I was very intentional, I literally met him 2 weeks later.
We absolutely have to get access for our audience in some way. I guess we can maybe do something special for them. We can put the link in the bio so they can do business because they need that blueprint.
Yeah.
It's a
It
lot
only takes
of
90 days, ladies.
90 day blueprint.
It don't
Because that
take
sounds
forever.
like some sauce.
Yeah.
And I really like that you were just very vulnerable about what was going on with you internally.
Yeah.
And understanding that you actually had to put yourself in a position to fix that first before you can get out there in the marketplace.
Yes, because you just keep doing the same thing over and over again. And you're just going to be mad. And you will never be able to get the type of man people say you can't have. I'm not supposed to be able to have a man who's an engineer be with me and my 3 kids.
Right.
I'm not supposed to, but I don't give a damn about that. Because if I did, then that would have showed up in our conversation. And I'd have been like, well, I have 3 kids. And no, stand on that. I got kids. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Now, I'm not saying say that when you meet the man. But when you're having conversations and they ask questions, you have to just they can tell when you're not comfortable with your situation. And then that's what makes them know she's looking for somebody to save her.
Yeah.
I wasn't looking for anybody to save me. I found a way to save myself. And you being a part of my life was a compliment to you, despite the fact that I have 3 kids, because I have an amazing life.
Yep.
I wasn't looking for you to come and take care of me, but you can.
And honestly, I wanted to be a part of your life. You were always traveling. I don't travel anywhere. I'm always working. So,
Oh, man.
You know what I mean? So, she's always on trips.
I drag him everywhere.
She drags me everywhere, and I love
I'd
that.
be like,
I
just
see
show up.
value
I already
in that.
paid for it. Just
Yeah.
show up. Just show up. Yeah.
Reluctantly, sometimes.
Oh my
but-
God,
dope.
yes.
You know,
That's
it's
dope.
man, it's so great hearing that story, and I still want to ask some questions around it because you made a really good point about, because I want to talk about the blending of the families now, because that's what's really happening when you're in that situation.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the scariest parts
It
to
is.
single guys, and to quickly speak on objectively, because now I'm gonna be honest, because I'm personally, my perspective, I preference to date women without children as well. But I'm gonna be honest, listening to this brother's perspective, I must say, if I had to build a scalable society, just being like the god of a society, I honestly want my men thinking like the brothers over here.
I appreciate it.
Because think about it. If you consider the thought process of many of the guys that we consider, like many of the guys we know, and even ourselves, a lot of us, when we're looking at single moms, you're right. We thinking about like, damn, the kid's kind of worn down a body. Like it kind of worn down the aesthetics, kind of worn all these things down. And don't get me wrong. I think physical attractiveness is important to us as men.
Think about more
It
than
is.
just physical attraction.
No. Here's what I'm saying. My point of it is, it's the value system. Is what I'm saying. I remember I had a Mexican homie I went to high school with, and he, right after school, like it was 19 years old, he got married. And he got married and wifed this chick up that he probably knew for like 6 months. We was like, yo, you are a wacko, bro. Bro, you're lame. You're wacko. Like, we was calling, it was like, bro, what
Lame
the hell
man,
is
nigga.
wrong? Yeah, like,
Lame man.
something about her. And they started going through all this stuff, man. They was going through like all these problems, like problems of really not knowing somebody, not properly vetting somebody. But here's the thing. He's still with them. They're still with this woman today. They 3 kids in, and they've built a family together that's sticking. And the moral of the story is, I do see, objectively looking at it, how people who value family vet differently, because there's certain different things at the top of the list that you're looking at versus things that, if that's at the top of my list, that I don't even get to see some of your
Right.
value. I won't even see the value
Yes.
in certain women just because of what's at the top of my
your list
of
right
my
now.
list.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Right now.
I'm not gonna get there. Like all of that, no, I ain't get there. I stop right here at number 2, checkbox. You missed that one? I'm missing all these great things about you down here. Like so I see how a brother like yourself with a different value system can vet in a different order.
Exactly.
And are willing to compromise at different levels.
Exactly.
And this brother now is putting a family together, and now we got some kids that are not going to be. We got 3 kids that
That's
are
not
not
gonna
going
be
to be fatherless
Exactly.
in a
That's a
home.
good point.
So when I'm saying objectively, I respect the maturity, especially me. I'm
Thank you.
somebody who was raised by a stepfather as well. Just
Okay.
be real with you.
Cool.
So objectively, I see the power in having a man. I know the power of having a man in a household.
Absolutely.
One.
Yep.
Like because
Respect it.
we need men in households.
We do,
and
especially
that
now.
shit is a tough job.
Yes, sir.
Right.
But when it comes to a man, we have a very possessive ownership based mindset.
We do.
So how do you deal with that with the other men now that are already they're family members? They have to be brought into this situation. How do you coordinate that relationship for it to be healthy?
That is such an amazing question. Let me tell you my experience, right? When I started getting serious, first of all, when I met this woman, within a couple of days, I told you were going to be my wife.
Yeah.
Right? I called her
Within a couple of days?
Within-
Wow.
I still
Yeah.
have the text. It was like within the first week.
I told her, I'm going to call you my pseudo wife. You're a technical person,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Pseudo being
Yeah.
like precursor.
Yeah.
I can't say you're my wife
Yeah,
because
so it's kind of
technically-
like
Right, but you're my pseudo wife. So I've claimed you. You better tell all them other dudes to
Yes.
back off, right?
unmatched them.
Yes. Take them out of your pockets. So when we started getting serious, when I proposed, and then
10 months later,
10
by
months
the way.
later,
Wow.
we got married 10 months
Yeah,
later.
we got married 10 months later.
Wow.
Yeah.
When I proposed, I told her, look, I'm assuming the responsibility of being your kid's father. Even though technically I'm a stepfather, I want to be considered their father. I want them to see me as their father because I see them as my own kids. I told her I would like to actually have a conversation with their dads. That's what I said. I arranged to have a conversation with one of, I'm not going to mention his name, with one of my children's, like my stepchildren's dads. I reached out to him. I told her about it. I said, you know what? Let him know that I want to meet with him. I want to have a conversation because the way I see it, if I had a child who was now going to be part of somebody else's family, he's going to have another stepfather, I would want to know who this man is because of what I value. I believe in raising upstanding men. That's what I was raised on, right? So I said, let me meet this guy. I met this guy, and the first thing he did was disrespect me. That's the first thing. The second guy didn't even bother to even ask. Hey, you're raising my 2 youngest kids. Let me actually speak with you. And let me see what kind of man is literally giving my daughter a bath, my 2-year-old daughter a bath. Let me ask what kind of man is teaching my son how to pee standing up. Let me find out what kind of man is teaching my son how to knock on a door so he don't walk in on his mom changing. Let me teach my son, let me meet the man who is teaching my son how to shake a man's hand. That in of itself was my experience, right? Now, when we come to dealing with the fathers, I don't deal with them because they are deadbeats. Because if you cannot even think of meeting the person who is going to influence your child to be good or bad, whatever it is they are, I could be a drug dealer. I'm not saying that drug dealers I'm not doping on any drug dealers, but I could be a child molester. I could be a serial rapist. And you don't even have the concern to meet the father of the person, stepfather of the person who's taking care of your children. Why would I even want to involve myself with you? What I told Babe is they're my kids now. Wow. They're my children. I'm raising them.
Every woman is
I'm
looking for
feeding
that.
them.
Right.
Every woman looking for that.
I'm taking them to their doctor's visits.
Sheesh.
I'm teaching them the fundamentals of science. I'm showing them how to be respectful. I'm putting them in timeout.
That part.
I'm cooking for them morning, afternoon, and evening. I'm wiping his butt. I'm giving her a shower. I'm taking care of her when she's sick. I'm making their bed. I'm buying them video games. I'm picking them presents for Christmas. That's where I'm at. So if they're watching, that's it. I mean, period. They're my kids. I don't deal with them because I've extended my hand out to those people. And let me say this about our society. That is the problem in of itself. It's not that we are afraid to take care of children, is that we are afraid of the responsibility that comes with being in a relationship that leads to those areas and those scenarios to where we create these dysfunctional families. Because if you look at it from a fundamental perspective, aside from children, just remove the children out of the equation. If you just ask yourself, what would be the right thing to do if somebody is taking something from you that's very precious and you want to get it back at some point in time? Wouldn't you inquire like, hey, how are you going to take care of this?
Yes.
How are you going to take care of this thing? Are you going to polish it? Are you going to keep it clean? Are you going to put it in the garage so that it doesn't, get beat on by the rain, et cetera, et cetera? So if we can't even think on that fundamental level, why are we even getting into relationships? So that's my perspective there.
Now the audience is communicating. Now the audience, they're communicating. Hey, look, they love you. First of all,
appreciate it.
They love you.
I'm just speaking my truth.
Yes, they loving.
I'm
They
speaking my truth.
They loving the connection between you guys. They loving all the things that
Again,
you're
some
saying.
tonight.
But they are still holding firm to that. You and you are both unique.
Don't say exceptions.
Situations,
No, we're not.
exceptions to the rule.
No, we're not. And the
Okay.
thing that bothers me about that is my story before y'all heard him talk is I was the typical woman you would tell your son to not deal with.
Yep.
How are we the exception?
And I was the guy who literally got raised in a Roman Catholic family where divorce was a sin. If you divorce somebody, you are going to hell. But I had to divorce myself, and I filed for divorce because I was married to a woman who I did everything for this woman. I literally fixed her teeth. I bought her a house. I took out money. When I was broke, I took out money from my 401k to buy her a car, 3 cars. I did everything from this woman. And when
Was that on his match profile?
No, it wasn't. No.
Like, I got me one.
And
what?
if you had met me in 2018 and said, look, you in 5 years, you'll be married to a woman with 3 kids who has from 2 different men, I would have been like, what? Nah, I'd rather put needles in my eyes than that to happen. And then I got divorced and literally went through my own process of self-discovery, what I really valued, what life was really about, what I really wanted for myself, and whether things that cultural biases that we inherited and they were passed down from our parents even really mattered. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna live my life. And the first thing I wanna do is find somebody that understands me. That's what she gives me. I was waiting for y'all to say, what do I get from this woman? Because the current conversation has been in the direction of what the woman gets from the man. But what do I get from her? I get understanding, which is more valuable than $3 million to me, because I never got that from a woman that I gave everything to. And that took me to the point where I tried to kill myself 3 times.
Whoa.
But she gave me understanding to where I told her, look, this ain't even it. I'm gonna give you whatever you want, and I will rest when I'm dead. That's it. I'm gonna give you everything you want because you give me this one thing that through all the women I've met, I've never gotten. So that's essentially how I view the relationship with my wife, especially the relationship pertaining to her exes. Those exes are a non-factor because at the end of the day, they don't even do the basic necessities that's required of a father, especially the ones who have daughters. You have a daughter living with another dude, and you don't even do the due diligence to go and see whether this guy's gonna be feeling up on your daughter. Like, what kind of man? You're scum.
Yeah, no, that's
You're
straight scum.
With all the what you call that stuff? Pedophiles out there. So that's how I see.
That is why we're not the exception.
Exactly.
Same
so
shit.
we are not the exception at all because
Same.
I had to work through my biases. I had to work through this mindset that I have right now is completely different than
Because
how I
he's
was.
a very judgmental man.
I am.
Don't be mistaken. This man is extremely.
I'm not as open-minded as you
judgmental.
think.
No,
I
he's
can
not.
tell you got this traditional, still got this very traditional
and I speak
vibe.
very, very traditional, and I speak my mind and I don't mince words, basically, because I'm concrete in my values. That's it. Take it or leave it. My values are not negative or positive to me. They're just what I want. how you view them is what attributes that negative weight to it
Yeah.
or positive weight to it. And if you don't matter, what the fuck do I care?
Yo, so I just want to say this real quick, because this is how I can tell we heating up, because we have just officially hit over 300 people in the live show right now,
Let's
which
go.
is excellent. And I just dropped a poll. Yo, are Michael and Adriana dropping gems right now? Listen, we got 300 people right now in the live. Let's try to get 100 votes on this. Are they dropping gems? We already getting requests for y'all to come back and everything.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
they going
amazing.
crazy. They going crazy. Look, Jacoby, let me ask you, man.
I'm
Jacoby-
inspired by this brother. I'm listening like that.
You done heard all
Am
this
I gonna be
good
that mature one day? This man is super mature. Like,
More nigga than my dad. Shit.
shit, I was in a single parent household. Nigga. I'm just saying, me too.
Still looking for a father. Me
Still looking for a-
Me too, actually.
Nigga, that card note is high. Hell no. Jeez.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So what do you think, Jacoby? I mean, we saw the video, you know, and we're not trying to change your mind or nothing like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? But now, is your perspective a little bit more open after hearing about this relationship dynamic that actually exists? Where a man can actually take on a woman that does have kids and still maintain a successful relationship? Do you think it's possible now, or do you think this is still very, very unique, unlikely situation?
I don't think that it's very, very unique. You know, I commend you in just listening to you. Like, damn, I'm like, the admiration just for you has skyrocketed, because my goal is to be as confident in me, right, and as proud of my woman as you are of yours, right, to be able to have this mindset and to marry her within 10 months, like, so like, that's dope. But again, my experiences as far as on an everyday basis, I still don't see me being comfortable with coming into a situation where I am the stepfather, right? And again, I grew up in a situation where my stepfather raised me, and I was very thankful for having a stepfather in the household, but this is not the most ideal situation for me. It's not a preference of mine. But I will say this, right? I talked about experiences. One of my dopest experiences with a woman, coincidentally, was a woman who had a kid that was like 13 years old.
Oh, wow.
But I've never met him. We had a really interesting dynamic. We spent a lot of time together. She was the dopest woman that I ever had, but we just didn't work out. But my preference is just to,
You cut off because she had some kids?
I did cut her off because of that. I cut her off because it was over $30. It was over $30.
When was this? This was recent?
Nah, this is a few years back.
Okay,
But this is a multi.
This is the old him.
This is a few years back. It's a woman.
I wanna hear the story.
It's a woman I helped turn up. She, before coming to me, she didn't have a profitable business. Came to me, and my rule is to not date clients, but it ended up happening. She came to me. She was starting a hair business. I transitioned her into a fitness brand. She was an influencer. Helped her make millions of dollars online. She never seen me physically, like in person. She only knew about my brand, right, the company. And then she was like, yo, you made all this, helped me make all this money. I need to see your page. She saw my page. I sent her my page. And we end up dating and being together like every day after that. But we had built such a rapport and a friendship. I knew she had a kid as a friend, and it didn't hurt that she was making like $300,000, $400,000 a month, right? And so I never had to see her child. Like we just experienced life together, and but we ended up breaking up over some business over like $30.
Y'all was just having fun. So I want to ask you: are you dating more so casually right now? Or are you actually dating with intent to get married? At
Man,
this
I'm
point?
not even dating for real. Like I'm on my purpose right now. You know, that's all I'm on. Like I'm not even trying to pursue anybody.
So you just smashing right now?
Basically what he's saying.
Listen, I was on a celibate phase for like I was on a celibate phase for like 6-7 months.
Good for you.
I broke it with a threesome.
I guess that's a way to bring it.
I broke it with a threesome. Now I'm back on some like, you know.
So you just dip your toe in the water and then you
He broke his fast with a feast.
Three-way with a feast.
I did like 6 months. I was like, yo, you know what? Let me block all women out. Let me focus on my business. Let me focus on making sure that I, you know, get my family in order, right? Because coming from a single parent household, I want to make sure my mom, I'm trying to retire her. I've already bought her a house. I've already bought her a car.
Good for you.
So that's my focus right now, bro. It's like,
I hope those wasn't 2 single moms you had with you.
Right, because that's evil. That's evil.
Yo, oh my God.
Yo, hey, listen, for the
Good
threesome, I would have went ahead and risked it. You know, a little polygamy going on. Like, hey, I might make an exception for that.
So, hey, Adrian, let me ask you though. So, I mean, should a woman be trying to convince a man to be with her? You
No.
know, just
Whether she has kids or not, no.
Agreed.
Like, no, you should never have to sell yourself.
Yep.
That was a stage that I went through where I said my self-love wasn't where it was supposed to be. I didn't even think I was selling myself, but I remember being in a situation where I just couldn't understand why this dude was so hung up on his ex-girlfriend when I was giving him everything that he said that he wanted. And then I just realized he just didn't want it for me, not in that way. And it took me a year. It took me a year to realize that I was trying to convince him of how amazing I was. And I vowed to never do that. Whether you have kids or not, you should never have to convince anybody of how amazing you feel you are. So, no.
Well said, baby.
You're selling. Yeah,
We
that's-
got my
you're selling.
man Andre Hatchett in here. He said, I am sold. Ladies with kids, let's get married.
Converted. Hold on.
Yeah, he was here campaigning on that. He was working hard.
Hold on. Let
He
me
has been
switch.
converted in here.
Hold on. Let me ask you. If I date a woman with kids, do I get to claim on my taxes? Because that may make me change some things. I need some help. I need some write-offs.
He's looking at the.
I need some write-offs, goddamn it. So if that, I may change.
Only if you marry her, not date her.
Only if I marry her.
Yeah, don't just be trying
Okay.
to use us for our little change that we get every year.
Okay.
Y'all wrong for this.
Guys, no. This was an excellent discussion. I know we get ready to close it out in a minute, but I did want to ask you one more question. But guys, please, if you found value on this platform, go ahead, drop a super chat before we get out of here. Join the YouTube membership. It's only $4.99 is for the supporter, $9.99 for the loyal supporters. Because as this group grows, because we actually are at 28 YouTube members. This is our 4th live show. This is great. We're going to hit 100 members in the next 30 days. And as we grow, it's going to get harder and harder to get your comments and your questions addressed. So make sure if you like it and love it that you actually join the membership. So Adrian, that's my last question for you guys. Because I know where Jacoby stands, and that's totally cool, right? But in your personal opinion, is it okay for a man to express that he does have a bias or preference for not dating single moms?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There's no reason why anybody should be upset with anyone having a preference.
Yep.
I had a preference. I preferred to be with a man with kids. Men without kids did not like me for that. And I completely understood it. I let them down gently. And even the ones that might have had kids and I told them, I'm retired. I'm not trying to be a wife. I end up getting married. So I'm sure they hate me for that too. I had a preference.
Let them hate.
You know, it's just what it is. Everybody can have a preference. You just simply need to go where you are wanted, because for every single mom, there is a single dad. There are men who are actively looking for good role models for their daughters. They just are, whether they have their daughters full time or they don't. There are men who value the dynamic of a 2-parent household, or at least their kids seeing how a woman treats him. That is extremely important. It does exist. We may not hear about it a lot, but mature men do look for those things. That's it.
Well said.
Yo, I'm gonna drop this poll. 75 votes. Didn't quite get to 100, but the question was: are Michael and Adriana dropping gems right now? 92% of people said absolutely.
92.
That's a A.
Man, listen.
That's a great A.
Listen, before we end this, I want y'all to know, I want you guys to understand, especially my ladies in here, especially my ladies with some babies. You're single, you're looking for somebody special. You probably are embarrassed about your situation. Your self-worth not where it's supposed to be. You're not where you're supposed to be. I want you to understand here, I hope you got some game, and I hope you walked away here with some understanding that you can actually take and apply in your own personal life to understand that the situation here now does not necessarily determine what your outcome has to be forever. You see, we brought these people here so you can have healthy examples of what actually can happen And listen,
And so you can start worrying about what a man says that's not interested in you.
Right.
If it's men that saying they're not interested in you, so what?
So
It's
what?
not a big deal.
You don't have
It's
to
plenty.
respond.
Don't gotta respond.
You do not have to. Even honestly, even the women that got upset about his video that went viral, when I just so happened to see it on TikTok, and I just was like, well, I don't. That wouldn't have pertained to me.
Right, it's
so
his
you would just
preference.
keep scrolling.
Yeah. Right.
It doesn't matter. Like if a woman got 3 kids, okay, I got 3 kids, but he ain't talking about me.
Right.
So let me
But
just.
a hit dog will holler, and,
Right.
and like you talked about self-worth,
Yeah.
if your self-worth is not where it's
Yes.
at,
You'll-
then you are absolutely
you'll be
offended.
offended.
And it's just like you at the church when you think the pastor talking about you,
Yeah.
but he's really just talking to you.
Right. Exactly.
Right? It's the same exact situation.
And I think it's more so as black men, we get shamed more for saying those things. I don't see
do.
white Mexicans, if they say they have a preference and they 30 plus, they're successful and say, I prefer not to date
Right.
a woman with children. You never really hear a lot of ridicule, but as soon as a black man says something like that, like we get attacked immediately.
Very sensitive subject for
It's
our
saying
community.
You haven't healed, and you need to fix your
I
relationship
agree.
with your mother,
Yeah.
and you have, it's all these other narratives that have nothing to do with it. I'm just talking about my anecdotal experiences. That's
Exactly. And your preference. And
Yeah.
you're entitled to your preference and what you choose that affects you. So, like, I cannot judge you for that, sir. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Before we go, I want to say 2 more little motivational tips for these single moms. 1, Usher's mama was a single mom. She got married. Jeff Bezos married a single mama. That's all I had to say.
damn.
And she had 3 kids. That's all I had to say.
Jeff Bezos rich too.
Exactly. Exactly.
Hey,
So
single,
go where you
single
want
moms be
it.
bad as hell. I'm not gonna
Go
cap
where
though.
you
Single
want
moms
it.
be fine. Listen,
We
y'all-
know.
Let
We
me talk to
know.
her real quick.
No, they be soft too. They be soft, feminine.
Where my camera at? Listen, single moms. I'm not gonna lie. Y'all be beautiful, right? I love what y'all got going on. I love the body, the thickness, because their first child is just get the hips
The
right.
hips. The
And
hips.
you start poking, and then you got those little tiger stripes on the side. Oh my God. I'm in love with it. And plus,
But stay away from him. He gonna invite you to a threesome. So you don't, you don't want to rock with this brother right here. Don't even do it.
no, listen, no. I'm gonna take you out. We're gonna go to a nice, beautiful restaurant. We're gonna do some dope things, man. Like, who knows? We might do some business together. Single moms be business minded.
Very much so.
You know, winning. Most of my clients are women with kids, and they're killing it. So I don't have anything problems with them.
Man, that's much love, man. Listen,
Yeah.
first of all, I appreciate the perspective that both of you guys brought. I think both of you guys brought some amazing perspective for both of us to see. For my people in here, I think we got some people in here who converted. We got some people who probably still on the edge.
Yeah. And we got some people who just got some really good perspective and understanding of what the other side may look like.
Myself included.
Yeah.
Myself included.
And we are doing something very special. So anybody who joins the YouTube membership, we want to speak to you. We have just dropped the link to actually speak on the phone with me and Tyshawn. We're very busy. So for us to take time to speak to y'all, it's because we love y'all. So anybody who joins today, you will still get that link to actually speak to us because the YouTube members are going to dictate the direction of the channel. You want more lives? Let us know. You want this beautiful couple? You want Jacoby to come back?
Show
Let
topics.
us know.
Whatever questions you have for the guest that's coming up, even if it's a specific guest you want us to go find and bring on the show. The first people that comes on, especially our first founding 100, you're going to be family. We're going to take care of y'all. And listen, let's get to it. Where we at right now as far as the members?
Hey, right now, I gotta check it, but I know we was like at 28 or 20 or 28
There
or
we go.
29 or something like that. So
There we go.
We'll be at 30 by the next live.
Yeah,
At
Clarity,
least-
we're
at
gonna speak to you.
least.
We're gonna speak to you, Clarity. We're gonna speak to you. But listen, first of all, guys, thank you so much again for coming on here and sharing with our audience. I'm sure our audience has appreciated it. Valuable perspective. You guys, it seems like, well, you guys are invited back. I don't know. Hey, let me know. Should we get Jacoby back? Let me know if we should get Jacoby back.
For singles night, we have
for
singles
sure,
night.
For sure, we're gonna get this couple here back on the show. I'm kidding, Jacoby. You're always welcome to come back here and join us on Harley Initiated.
Hey,
but
man,
look,
can I gift y'all something before we go?
hell
Yeah,
yeah!
absolutely.
Man,
What we
so
got?
This is something right here that's gonna make the single mothers and the women without children go crazy. So I have a brand right here. It's called Lux Honey.
Look, the honey pack, though.
You got the honey pack?
The honey pack. So most importantly, I gotta give it to my guy. I should have gave this to you.
Oh man!
Hold on. It might be another baby on the way now.
There's gonna be another baby coming. Now listen, this right here for you, brother. This right here for you. Now, I'm not responsible for these women going crazy. I'm not responsible for them knocking down your door.
Another one about to be digmatized.
Hey, listen, this
The
is a
honey
little
pack.
different. It's the honey pack. It's the honey
Appreciate it,
pack.
appreciate
Feel the buzz.
Feel the buzz, man. So that's the brand, man. I want
Okay.
y'all to check that out, man. They can check this out at luxhoneyofficial.com, man. I want to give y'all that. And I'm going to have to get a review from everybody here. I'm going to have to follow with y'all.
Oh, crazy. Yo, Jacoby,
You want
He
to
said get a review.
crazy.
No, I just want to talk to the
calm
homie.
down.
He like, dang, like we got one on the way, my boy. We got one on the way.
Hey,
Shameless,
The honey
Peaches.
pack.
I ain't gonna lie.
Shameless.
Hey, look, the review for this one going on Patreon. All right? This one gonna go behind the paywall right here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh man.
Hey man, I appreciate you coming up here with a gift, man. I love it. I don't any
problem.
great when our guests come up here. And they
It
come,
is, it is.
Y'all ain't got
No,
nothing.
we
Okay.
gonna let
I know you don't need it. It's just a little extra razzle dazzle. You know what I'm saying? Little sprinkles on top.
No, but we gonna get Michael and Adriana to do something special for y'all with that 90-day blueprint because I know y'all need
Yeah,
that. So look
yeah.
out for that too.
Absolutely, y'all. But look, thank you again for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe. If you ain't get the membership, you ain't get nothing else, go ahead and subscribe. Just press the button right below. Subscribe to the channel because we come with more heat. This is every Wednesday night at 8 p.m., every Monday night at 8 p.m., and we still putting out conversations 3 times a week. God, we working for y'all. We work. Somebody's life gonna change. Somebody's life is gonna change. But thank you for tuning in to another episode of Hardly Initiated. We are out.